Chapter 898. As the saying goes, good will be rewarded and evil will be punished. It's not that the time hasn't come yet. These ferocious people had committed heinous crimes, and now the retribution had fallen on them. Whether it was Tan Xiao or Shui Yu, neither of them had the slightest sympathy for them. Tan Xiao, who had gone through too many things, was deeply aware of the truth that getting rid of a bad person was to protect countless good people. Let's go to the mountain tonight. Tan Xiao hung up the phone and looked at Shui Yu. Shui Yu nodded. She knew Tan Xiao's character. He didn't like to be in the limelight and didn't want to get into trouble. Since the police would come later, it was better to leave early. Everyone hurry up. Don't let anything happen to Mr. Tang and his wife. Grandpa Jia's voice came from outside the courtyard wall, followed by the sound of footsteps getting clearer. Tan Xiao and Shui Yu exchanged glances. The moment they stepped out of the courtyard, they saw Grandpa Jia leading hundreds of villagers, men, women, and children. They were less than 20 meters away from the courtyard gate. Upon seeing Tan Xiao and Shui Yu coming out, Grandpa Jia immediately looked pleasantly surprised. He trotted toward them and asked with concern, "Are you all right, Mr. Tang?" Tan Xiao was somewhat touched. He could easily imagine that Grandpa Jia was worried about him and Shui Yu, so he immediately went to gather the villagers after he came over. The hundreds of people in front of him were almost all the people in the entire village. "We're fine, Grandpa Jia." Grandpa Jia heavily nodded and said, "It's no longer safe here, Mr. Tang. You should leave quickly. Take advantage of the time when those bad guys are still here." "How many hunters are there in total?" asked Tan Xiao. 7. "All of them are ruthless characters," answered Grandpa Jia. "There's no problem if there are only 7 of them," said Tan Xiao with a smile. "They're all in the courtyard, and I've knocked them out." "That's right, the police will probably arrive soon. We have something to do and need to leave first. You can hand those hunters over to the police when they come." Grandpa Jia stared blankly and snappily said, "You're not a child anymore, Mr. Tang. How can you just joke around? Listen to my advice, you'd better stop making a fuss. You should hurry up and leave. When those bad guys come back, we can just find a random excuse." Many villagers had seen Tang Xiao before, so they also chimed in at this moment. "Yes, Mr. Tang, you don't understand the character of those bad people. They have knives and guns in their hands. You should leave quickly." "Mr. Tang, Grandpa Jia is not joking with you. Hurry up and leave. Otherwise, all the bad guys will come back and you won't be able to leave. Sai, he's too young and doesn't know the dangers. Those bastards aren't easy to deal with. They dare to kill. Let's go." Tan Xiao looked at the simple faces and the concerned expressions on their faces. He silently buried his emotions in his heart and said, "Everyone, if you don't believe me, then follow me to the courtyard to have a look. The 7 bad guys were all subdued by me. They're in the yard." Mr. Tang, seeing that Tan Xiao was still talking nonsense, Grandpa Jia stamped his feet angrily and said, "Since you like to talk big, I'll go in and have a look." Having said that, he strode into the courtyard. And when he saw the scene in the courtyard, his footsteps suddenly stopped, and an expression of disbelief appeared on his aged face. The dozen or so villagers behind him had only taken a few steps into the yard when they suddenly stopped when they saw the scene in the yard like Grandpa Jia. As if they had lost their souls, they stared at the 7 people lying on the ground like dead dogs with their eyes wide open, and their tongues tied. Heavens! I'm not dreaming, am I? These bad guys were really knocked down by Mr. Tang? How is this possible? These bastards have knives and guns. How could they be subdued by Mr. Tang? Is Mr. Tang a martial arts expert? He's not afraid of bullets? I clearly heard gunshots before. Amazing. With a smile on his face, Tan Xiao listened to the villagers who had just woken up from their stupor. Then he said with a smile, "Everyone, you can see that I've subdued all these bad guys. Quickly search them and see if there are any dangerous goods on them. Also, it's best to find some strong ropes and tie them up. They'll wake up before the provincial police arrive, and they'll definitely do something dangerous to you." Grandpa Jia seemed to have woken up from a dream and hurriedly said, "That's right, Mr. Tang is right. Everyone, hurry up and find some ropes. We must find some thick and strong ropes to tie all these bad guys up." As long as the police come and arrest them, we'll be at peace in the future. Quickly, under the respectful gazes of all the villagers, Tan Xiao and Shui Yu left the village, leaving the off-road vehicle left by Jia Weili in the village. The night was hazy. When the stars appeared in the night sky, the duo finally arrived at their destination. Originally, Tan Xiao planned to use this cave to plant elixirs. But due to the appearance of the occult doors people, as well as the fight with Jin Sanchi and Jin Sijia, all the elixirs were eventually moved away. However, the heaven and earth spiritual energy here was still much richer than the outside world. Tired, Tan Xiao looked up at the top of the cave. After retracting his gaze, he saw a tired look on Shui Yu's face and her whole body was a bit dispirited. A little. Shui Yu gently nodded. Take a rest first. I'll study this 6 starlight array, Tan Xiao said with a smile. I'll ask you again if I encounter something I don't understand. Shui Yu shook her head and said, let's study it together. Let's try to open the Immortal Trove as soon as possible. She was perfectly aware that the Lian family in Ning City had always been a big trouble. If they couldn't be eliminated as soon as possible, not to mention Tan Xiao, even she herself would be a bit worried. Furthermore, she had known about this Immortal Trove for a long time, but it had never been opened. Tan Xiao had always been worried about it. Now that the Immortal Trove had been opened earlier and figured out what was inside, Tan Xiao's mind would be settled. They studied it all night long. The more they learned about the mysteries of the 6 starlight array, the more they found out about the mysteries of this array. However, 3 days later, the duo finally figured out all the mysteries of the 6 starlight array. I'll give it a try. Tang Xiao's sword fingers moved as though they were flying. He began to decipher the mysteries of the 6 starlight array in accordance with its position. When he had completed all the methods he thought to be correct, he was surprised to find that the 6 starlight array only emitted a strong light before it silently dissipated. It shouldn't be. Shui Yu frowned and muttered. Our cracking method is correct, and this 6 starlight array finally reacted. Why did it stop halfway? Tan Xiao was also puzzled. After a long silence, he touched his chin and said, I think we should have overlooked something. This 6 starlight array is not an array of our country, but from the Western countries. The one who arranged this 6 starlight array must have some other considerations. But what exactly is it? Shui Yu shook her head and said with some frustration, forget it. Let's not think about it first. Just take out something to eat. We haven't eaten anything for almost a day. Tan Xiao nodded. After a few days of research, he and Shui Yu had consumed a lot of energy, and even their physical strength was somewhat overdrawn. He was still fine since he was a very strong expert, so it wouldn't be a problem even if he didn't eat, drink, sleep, or rest for 3 to 5 days. But Shui Yu couldn't. Immediately after, Tan Xiao took out tables, chairs, bowls, and chopsticks from his interspatial ring, and then took out the stored cooked food, cold dishes, drinks, and other food. He then said with a smile, have a good sleep after you've eaten and drunk your fill. Maybe you'll have a flash of inspiration after you relax and suddenly think of the crux of the problem. Let's sleep together, said Shui Yu with a chuckle. Tan Xiao took a deep breath and forced a smile. I'm not sleepy at all. It won't be a problem even if I don't sleep for a few days and nights. Miao Wentong and I previously agreed to return to Ning City within 7 days. It's already the 4th day. If we still can't open this Immortal Trove, I'm afraid we'll have to return disappointed again. How could you forget what you just told me? Asked Shui Yu. Have a good sleep after you've eaten and drunk your fill. Maybe you'll have a flash of inspiration. We're now stuck on a certain key issue. As long as we can figure it out, we may be able to open the Immortal Trove at any time. Tan Xiao couldn't help laughing. His words just now were unexpectedly used by Shui Yu to lecture him. After a slight hesitation, he took out 2 crystal glasses and a bottle of red wine from his interspatial ring. After opening it, he poured 2 glasses and smilingly said, everyone says that red wine is good for one's looks. Though the taste is not that great, we can still drink it and have a good sleep. Shui Yu took the red wine glass and gently shook the blood-red wine inside. Just as she was about to toast with Tan Xiao, her expression suddenly moved. She blinked and asked, Do you think blood is needed to completely activate the hexagram star array? Don't many foreign magic plots require various mediums? Maybe blood is the medium of this hexagram star array. Tan Xiu's expression moved. He immediately put down the red wine glass and floated to the top of the cave. He took out the divine sword and cut his finger, as a drop of blood instantly fell on the pattern of the hexagram star array. Buzz! A dazzling white light instantly illuminated the entire cave as if it was daytime. Along with a violent vibration and a crackling sound, the hexagram star array was completely activated. Upon seeing this, Tan Xiu immediately looked ecstatic. He didn't expect that Shui Yu's temporary idea turned out to be the key to activating the hexagram star array. At this moment, Tan Xiu could clearly feel every pattern and mysterious structure of the hexagram star array. Even the entire hexagram star array's diagram seemed to be imprinted in his mind. Vibration. It caused the stones and dust in the cave to constantly fall, and the food and wine on the table could no longer be enjoyed. Tan Xiu swooped down and hugged Shui Yu in his arms. He instantly released his primal chaos force to protect both of them. Chapter 899. Inside the cave that was as bright as day, the ground under Tan Xiu and Shui Yu's feet suddenly rotated, and an enormous devouring force instantly disappeared. Where are we? In the next moment, the two of them appeared in an empty underground space. Scorching hot magma converged into a river and flowed in front of them, gushing into the rock stratum of the unknown cave. A head-sized green ball of light was suspended above the magma river, exuding a strong aura of vitality that made the pores all over one's body open. Shui Yu pointed to the wall opposite the magma river and said, "Look over there." Tan Xiu looked in the direction of her finger, and his expression suddenly changed, because he saw a statue sitting on a huge bluestone in the surrounding shallow pool. There were also some words engraved on the bluestone wall. "Let's go and have a look." Tan Xiu hugged Shui Yu in his arms and floated up, dashing to the front of the statue in just a few seconds. While looking at the shallow pool around the statue, Tan Xiu's eyes slowly moved and finally landed on the words on the bluestone wall. "I'm Dao Master Guai. I have thousands of incarnations and countless names, but only this name is true. Those who enter my cultivation place belong to the fated ones. Those who wish to worship me as their master must kowtow and worship me to obtain my true inheritance." Tan Xiu and Shui Yu exchanged dismayed glances. They had been searching for a long time, yet they didn't see the immortal trove. Instead, they were fated to receive the inheritance of a cultivator. Tan Xiu was very disappointed. He was utterly disappointed. Given his former status and strength, why would he need to obtain the inheritance of others? "It turns out that this immortal trove is Dao Master Guai's inheritance," said Shui Yu softly. "I wouldn't have opened this immortal trove if I had known about this earlier." Tan Xiu forced a wry smile. "What a waste of time. Isn't it a good thing to obtain his inheritance?" asked Shui Yu confused. "Unless he's a deity from the god realm, his inheritance is worthless to me." Tan Xiu shook his head. "Forget it. Since you've spent so much effort to open this immortal trove and have come here, just give it a try. In any case, I don't have the slightest interest in Dao Master Guai's inheritance." Shui Yu hesitated for a moment. Then, following Tan Xiu's instructions, she came to the praying mat outside the shallow pool and kowtowed. Just as she raised her head after performing the ceremony, the statue suddenly emitted a tremendous aura. The dark green liquid in the shallow pool turned into a water dragon that instantly enveloped Shui Yu. The head-sized green light ball suspended above the river of lava suddenly shrank 100 times, turning into a thumb-sized light shadow that drilled into Shui Yu's head. Buzz! A mysterious aura formed in the entire underground space. Tan Xiu suddenly turned his head to look around, and found that there were 9 green light beads embedded in the walls of this space. As the green light beads connected with the green energy tied on Shui Yu's body, the green mist filled every corner of this space in just a few seconds. "This is..." Tan Xiu held his breath and looked surprised. He could clearly feel that the green aura surging around his body had an extremely strong repulsion to him. It was as if there were 2 positive and negative magnetic poles that were faintly repelling him out of this space. "Humph. Tan Xiu quickly grabbed the array disc and arranged it in the position of the 4 divisions array lightning fast. He then released his primal chaos force to force the green aura out a few meters and immediately activated the array. Suddenly, the oppressive aura in his chest disappeared without a trace. At this moment, Tan Xiu raised his hand to touch his chin. A pondering look flashed in his eyes. He felt that this inheritance method was not something an ordinary cultivator could achieve. Unless one had reached the immortal realm, it would be very difficult to achieve this even with the help of arrays. Dao Master Guai. I've never heard of this name in the immortal world. Presumably he's not a powerful figure, right? However, it seems that the inheritance ceremony will take some time, so I'd better wait. Tan Xiu sat cross-legged and was ready to absorb the power of the stars to begin cultivating. However, he was dumbfounded to find that the green energy floating outside the 4 divisions array had completely isolated this space from the outside world. Even if he forced himself to cultivate, he could no longer absorb the power of the stars from the outside world. Strange. Tan Xiu sighed and immediately gave up the idea of cultivating. He took out a book from his interspatial ring and sat cross-legged on the ground to read it quietly. Time flew by. After a full 12 hours, Tan Xiu had finished reading the 4th book and digested all the contents in it. His expression slightly changed as he looked at Xueyu, who was shrouded in green light. I see. Xueyu looked at the statue in front of her. Her red lips opened slightly, and an emotionless voice came out. As her voice fell, she gently waved her arm. Suddenly, all the green light floating in the underground space swarmed toward her body. In just a few breaths, the entire space was restored to its original state. This aura is so strong. Tan Xiu looked at Xueyu in shock. He could feel that Xueyu's body was brimming with power. Just the aura she exuded inadvertently made him feel suffocated. He couldn't even figure out whether this powerful aura came from Xueyu or from Dao Master Guai, who gave her the inheritance. Tan Xiu. Xueyu bowed to the statue and then floated outside the 4 divisions array. Tan Xiu removed the 4 divisions array and circled around Xueyu. After observing her for a long time, he asked, "What's your current cultivation level?" Xueyu thought for a moment and suddenly smiled. With a flick of her long sleeves, a mini version of Xueyu appeared out of thin air, exuding a green light. This mini version of Xueyu even winked at Tan Xiu and then covered her mouth with a chuckle. Nascent soul. Tan Xiu was shocked as he looked at the naked mini version of Xueyu, who looked somewhat mischievous in the green light. His heart fiercely twitched a few times. He never dreamed that Xueyu could directly break through from the qi refining stage to the nascent soul stage just by obtaining an inheritance. I don't seem to be at the nascent soul stage. Xueyu chuckled. Holy shit. Tan Xiu was shocked, speechless, and could only stare at Xueyu's nascent soul. Suddenly, Xueyu's pretty face blushed. She waved her long sleeves and immediately took back her nascent soul into her body. She didn't feel anything wrong when her nascent soul was naked at first, but Tan Xiu's eyes made her somewhat unable to bear it. Tan Xiu looked up in amazement and saw the shy blush on Xueyu's face. He suddenly realized something and burst into laughter. We've been husband and wife for a long time, so don't be shy. I have some good stuff here, and we'll have dual cultivation sooner or later. No, I can't cultivate my nascent soul at all even if I change my cultivation technique. You can't cultivate your nascent soul? Why? Tan Xiu took a deep breath and said with a bit of regret. I used to cultivate a supreme immortal art, so I can naturally cultivate my nascent soul and immortal nascent soul. But due to some special reasons, I became an ordinary person again, so I changed my cultivation technique to a more profound one. It's also a cultivation technique that focuses on refining the body, but it's impossible to cultivate my nascent soul. Xueyu gently nodded. Although her cultivation had increased a lot, and she also obtained a lot of useful knowledge from the inheritance, she still didn't know much about Tan Xiu's situation. Tan Xiu didn't want to talk about his problem anymore, so he looked at Xueyu and asked, Tell me, you got the inheritance of Dao Master Guai. Who is this Dao Master Guai? What did he teach you? Xueyu spread her palm and a green light sphere suddenly appeared. She then said, This is my master's medium sphere. As long as I activate it, my master's divine sense will appear here. After saying that, She immediately activated the green light sphere. Tan Xiao stared blankly for a moment. His expression suddenly changed and he hurriedly shouted, "Don't activate it, Buzz!" A terrifying aura emanated from the green light sphere. In nearly an instant, the green light sphere exploded and formed a green figure in front of Tan Xiao and Shuiyu. He was thin and had a sage-like demeanor. He looked like an immortal. Shuiyu. I didn't expect my pristine immortal Confucian sect to have a female disciple. How troublesome. Dao Master Guai shook his head and helplessly said, Fine. Hand over a wisp of your divine sense, and you'll be a disciple of my pristine immortal Confucian sect from now on. But, after you ascend to the immortal world, you must never directly seek refuge with me. I'll leave a mark in your knowledge sea, so you can directly go there to find me after you ascend. Shuiyu hurriedly knelt and respectfully kowtowed 3 times to Dao Master Guai. Then she asked, Why can't I go to the pristine immortal Confucian sect to find you, Master? Aren't you one of the elders of the pristine immortal Confucian sect? It's mentioned in the inheritance you left me. I'll let him answer this question for you. His pristine immortal Confucian sect only accepts male disciples, and doesn't accept female ones. It can be said that once bitten, 10,000 years afraid of ropes. Tan Xiao sighed inwardly. He reached out to pull Shuiyu up and calmly said. Dao Master Guai stared blankly. Only now did he notice that there was a young man beside his disciple. With a bit of shock he asked in a deep voice, Who are you? This should be Earth, right? How do you know the situation of my pristine immortal Confucian sect in the immortal world? A faint smile outlined on the corner of Tan Xiao's mouth. I don't know how much time has passed in the immortal world, but I do know one thing. That old ancestor of your pristine immortal Confucian sect was killed by my subordinate. It's also because of my subordinate that your pristine immortal Confucian sect doesn't want to recruit female disciples. I may not know your name, Dao Master Guai, but I know your pristine immortal Confucian sect's pristine Liuha. What? Dao Master Guai exclaimed and instantly retreated a few steps back. Looking at the faint smile on Tan Xiao's face, his eyes stared fixedly at Tan Xiao. After a long while, he suddenly knelt in front of Tan Xiao and spoke with 70% fear and 30% respect. Dao Master Guai, the 326th generation disciple of the pristine immortal Confucian sect, pays respect to Lord Supreme. This junior didn't know you were here, and was rude just now. I hope Lord Supreme can forgive me. Chapter 900. Tan Xiao sighed inwardly. If it weren't for Shuiyu's speed, he wouldn't have been able to stop her. Otherwise, his identity wouldn't have been exposed. Fortunately, the pristine immortal Confucianist sect was a famous righteous sect in the immortal world, and its disciples were all immortal Confucian scholars. Tan Xiao had also studied Confucianism. Those who could reach the position of an elder of a sect in Confucianism had extremely strict requirements in terms of temperament, such as maintaining the rule of etiquette, advocating the rule of virtue, and attaching importance to the rule of man. Etiquette and moral character were the most important among them. As long as he could make this Dao Master Guai make a promise today, the crisis of his identity being exposed would be reduced to a minimum. Unless he went against his heart, and left a hidden danger in his state of mind, making him unable to break through in the future. Tan Xiao looked at the kneeling Dao Master Guai. After a long silence, he indifferently said, The pristine immortal Confucianist sect is a third-rate sect in the immortal world. Even if you occupy an immortal domain, I only need to move my mouth to get rid of you. However, I've paid attention to your pristine immortal Confucianist sect, so I don't have any ill will toward you. Dao Master Guai, I just need you to promise me something today, and I won't send anyone to cause trouble for your sect. Of course, if you can help me with something, not only will I give you a generous gift in the future, but I'll also give your pristine immortal Confucianist sect an immortal fate. Please instruct me, Supreme, said Dao Master Guai hurriedly. You must help me conceal the fact that my avatar appeared on Earth, said Tan Xiao. Shuiyu is my woman on Earth. Since she has taken you as her master, there's some karma between us. I hope you can protect her when she ascends to the immortal world in the future. Dao Master Guai's pupils shrunk. He looked up at Shuiyu and immediately said, Dao Master Guai, Swear to my heart that I'll never reveal any information about you on Earth. I'll do my best to protect your wife, Shueyu, as long as she ascends to the immortal world in the future. Tanxiu nodded with satisfaction and said, I'm very curious. How did you leave your inheritance on Earth? Did you ascend to the immortal world from Earth? That's right. I'm from the Tang dynasty, said Dao Master Guai respectfully. Originally, I had completely given up on the inheritance I had left here. Who would have thought that someone would be able to open the 6th Army Starlight Array that I had set up and obtain my inheritance? I see. Tanxiu nodded and said, It seems that there is indeed a huge difference between the time on Earth and in the immortal world. All right, get up. Dao Master Guai cautiously got up and looked at Shueyu, then at Tanxiu. Suddenly his expression changed as he asked, Supreme Master, how did you? Tanxiu asked with a smile. You want to ask why I'm on Earth, right? Is there any news about me in the immortal world? There's indeed a rumor about you in the immortal world, said Dao Master Guai with a perturbed expression. It's said that you perished when you ascended to the god's realm, and your soul scattered. In fact, many of your former disciples and your subordinates even personally went to the place where you lived in seclusion to hold a large-scale memorial service. Tanxiu lightly said, Perish? What a joke. It would have been very easy for me to ascend to the god's realm had I not been tied down by something. Forget it, the immortal world has nothing to do with me for the time being. I'll go back to see my old friends in the future. Dao Master Guai observed Tanxiu in front of him and hesitantly said, Supreme Master, but your appearance and your cultivation, how come? Buzz, a surging aura instantly descended in this underground space. Clad in a white dress, Guyan, looked like a fairy descending to the mortal world as she appeared out of thin air in front of them. When her eyes fell on Dao Master Guai's divine sense, her fingers immediately pinched and a dense killing intent burst out from her eyes. You are? Dao Master Guai was shocked and was about to berate her, but after seeing Gu Yener's appearance he immediately swallowed back his words. With deep fear, he prostrated and knelt down and called out, Dao Master Guai, the 326th generation disciple of the pristine immortal Confucian sect, pays respect to Rakshasa immortal monarch. Shueyu's complexion changed, and she instantly stood in front of Tanxiu. She was now a spirit formation stage powerhouse, but she still felt a huge threat from Gu Yan. It was as though the breathtakingly beautiful woman in front of her was a mountain she needed to look up to. She even had a feeling that it would be a piece of cake for this woman who suddenly appeared in front of her to kill her. Master. Gu Yan, slightly furrowed her brows and indifferently glanced at Shueyu. Then she gracefully bowed to Tanxiu. Master? Shueyu was dumbfounded. She turned her head to look at the smiling Tanxiu, and then shifted her eyes to the breathtakingly beautiful Gu Yan. A strange feeling welled up inside her. Fortunately, Dao Master Guai was only a wisp of his divine sense at the moment. If his real body was here, he would have been shocked by Gu Yan calling him master. Who was this demoness in front of him? She was a terrifying female Azura with countless titles in the immortal world. 1,000 years ago, he once met Rakshasa Star Monarch with his master and elders. He still clearly remembered that she killed countless mortals and immortals of an ancient country with just a flip of her hand. The sky of the immortal world was dyed red with blood at that time. The scene was deeply engraved in his heart, and he still couldn't forget it even after 1,000 years. But however, how could this vicious and merciless demoness from the immortal world be the disciple of Lord Supreme Being? It must be noted that although Lord Supremacy had killed countless immortals and Buddhas, he had never killed innocent people. Unaware of Dao Master Guai's thoughts, Tanxiu asked with a smile, Why are you here, Yener? With a wave of her hand, Gu Yener imprisoned Shueyu and pushed her a few meters away. Only then did she reveal a sweet smile and said, I sensed a huge immortal aura in this world, Master, so I came here to investigate. I didn't expect that someone from the immortal world would appear here. Let them go, Tanxiu said with a smile. Gu Yan, faintly smiled and skillfully held Tanxiu's arm. She then instantly removed the spell that imprisoned Dao Master Guai's divine sense and Shueyu. Shueyu ran to the other side of Tanxiu and vigilantly looked at Gu Yan, asking, Is she your disciple, Tanxiu? Were you really a supreme in the immortal world? Tan Xiao faintly smiled and didn't explain it to her. Instead, he looked at Dao Master Guai and said, "Remember your oath. I hope you won't violate it. Also, I'm afraid your divine sense won't be able to go back, no? Leave this immortal force to Xueyu. She's your disciple after all." "Understood," replied Dao Master Guai respectfully. Tan Xiao took a deep breath and said, "I'll also remember my promise to you. As long as you can fulfill it, I'll naturally help you set foot on a higher level in the future. I'll even give your pristine immortal Confucianist sect a great opportunity." "Thank you, Supreme Sir," Dao Master Guai respectfully replied and cautiously looked at Gu Yan. Then he turned into immortal force and integrated it into Xueyu's body. "Xueyu, absorb this immortal force first. It'll be of great benefit to you," said Tan Xiao. "I know you have doubts in your heart, but I'll tell you after you've absorbed this immortal force." "All right," Xueyu replied and strode to the side to sit cross-legged. Gu Yan shot a deep look at Xueyu and immediately said, "Master, why didn't you let me destroy Dao Master Guai's divine sense just now? He's someone from the immortal world. If he were to leak the news that you're in the immortal world, I'm afraid it'll be very disadvantageous to you." Tan Xiao turned to look at Gu Yan and said in a low voice, "You just had a way to destroy Dao Master Guai's divine sense. Can you follow his divine sense into the immortal world and destroy his immortal soul?" Gu Yan's expression turned stiff. She shook her head and said, "I haven't recovered my strength yet. I can't even reach the golden immortal stage, so I can't destroy his immortal soul." "That's it." Tan Xiao nodded. "If you can follow his divine sense into the immortal world and directly destroy his immortal soul, I'll naturally let you destroy him as soon as possible just in case. But you can't do it now, and I can't do it either. Hence, I can only bet that he'll abide by his oath and conceal the news about us in the immortal world. Don't worry too much, Yin. I know a bit about the situation of the pristine immortal Confucianist sect. Once this sect's disciple violates his oath, he'll have to pay a huge price. He won't easily leak our whereabouts unless it's a last resort." Gu Yan was silent for a moment. Then she shook her head and said, "I'm still a bit worried. How about we let Ji Qimei leave Earth and return to the immortal world to get rid of him first?" "We can't do that." Tan Xiao shook his head. "I'm afraid it won't be easy for Ji Qimei to return to the immortal world. Further, although her injuries have healed, it won't be easy for her to restore her cultivation to its peak state. Besides, the pristine immortal Confucianist sect may be a third-rate sect in the immortal world, but there are still some perfected golden immortals in the sect. Once we fail to kill him, we'll expose ourselves even faster. Then, what should we do?" Gu Yan asked helplessly. A cold light flashed in Tan Xiao's eyes as he said in a deep voice, "We're racing against time from today onward. We must strive to return to the immortal world as soon as possible. As long as we return to the immortal world, I can immediately take you to a special place. Once we're there, even if those who harmed me know that I'm still alive, they won't be able to do anything to us." "What do you need me to do, Master?" Gu Yan heavily nodded. "The most important task for you now is to heal your injuries," said Tan Xiao. "You can begin to restore your strength after your injuries are healed. I'll also speed up my cultivation. Once I can break the shackles of this world in the future and ascend to the immortal world, I'll have a way to bring a large number of people to the immortal world. The immortal world will be our battlefield one day. I'll make the best use of my time to heal my injuries and restore my original strength, Master," said Gu Yanner in a deep voice. "You can rest assured that I'll also spare some time to train a large number of elites." "As soon as possible, then." Tan Xiao nodded. "I've always felt that Earth is very special. There's a problem between the time here and the time in the immortal world. If it's really like what I experienced, a year on Earth is equivalent to tens of thousands of years in the immortal world. Our enemies in the future will only be stronger, and will be in more danger." From April 1st to April 7th, 2017. This book will be free for 7 days on the QQ Reading app and Qidian Reading app. It's a small benefit to repay the many fans who have supported Silent Night for so many years. Friends who like Silent Night can download the app to read it. Chapter 901. Countless starlight sprinkled down on the earth from the night sky. The scorching heat of summer also filled the wind with heat waves. Tan Xiu, Gu Yan'er and Shuiyu returned to the ground. Tan Xiu immediately decided to return to Ning City. However, he could faintly sense that there was something wrong with the relationship between the two women. You know what you should know, and you already know each other. So we're on the same side from now on. I hope you two can get along well in the future. Standing on the hillside, Tan Xiu looked up at the starry sky and spoke in a particularly low voice. Gu Yan'er pulled Tan Xiu's arm. After a long silence, she slowly said, I don't want to be one generation lower than her, master. I don't care, replied Shuiyu coldly. Yan'er, Shuiyu is my woman. Tan Xiu forced a smile and said. Gu Yan'er raised her hand to interrupt Tan Xiu and said, You know my mind the best, master. The only reason I've been able to live for thousands of years is to find you and accompany you. Even if the immortal world is destroyed, even if millions of living beings are annihilated, I'll never leave you. I don't want to care about your other women, nor can I care about them. But I must follow you, and no one can separate us. Tan Xiu patted Gu Yan'er's fragrant shoulder with a bit of heartache and softly said, Silly child, how could I abandon you? You're my most beloved disciple, and there's no one more important than you in my heart. Even if it's my mother, you're still the same in my heart. I knew it. I'm the most important person in your heart, master, said Gu Yan'er excitedly. But I'm not a little girl anymore. I've grown up. It's been thousands of years, and I'm old enough to be her ancestor. I don't want to be one generation lower than her. Tan Xiu was somewhat at a loss. Shuiyu squinted her eyes. As a woman, she could clearly feel Gu Yan'er's feelings for Tan Xiu. She even admired Gu Yan'er very much after learning her true identity in the underground space. After a moment of silence, she broke the deadlock and said, Tan Xiu, since she's not leaving you, you should also not abandon her. She has endured for thousands of years. Even an ugly daughter-in-law has long become an old woman. I think your master and disciple relationship has long surpassed any other feelings, so why bother with the trifles? You already have a lot of women. It doesn't matter if you have her or not. In my opinion, if she doesn't want to be one generation lower than me, you might as well let her be your woman. Nonsense, Tan Xiu angrily reprimanded. Gu Yan'er's eyes lit up at this moment. With a pleasantly surprised expression, she looked at Shuiyu and asked, Do you really think so? That's right. Actually, I'm also considered a latecomer. If I were to use the terms on Earth, I would be his lover if I were to be nicer. If I'm not nicer, I would be his third wife, fourth wife, fifth wife. Gu Yan'er immediately said. Okay, then you can call me sister from now on. I call you younger sister Yu, and you call me older sister Yan'er. Big sis Yan. Shuiyu gently nodded. Gu Yan'er said with satisfaction. Younger sister Yu, since we are sisters, I must give you a gift for our first meeting. But, what should I give you? Gu Yan'er frowned and thought for a few seconds. Just as Tan Xiu was about to speak, she suddenly said with surprise, I remember now. Since you've reached the soul formation late stage, I'll give you a flying sword. Star-Lord Snow Cicada spent thousands of years collecting countless treasures from the immortal realm to forge this flying sword. Even in the immortal realm, it is a supreme-grade immortal artifact. With that said, an immortal sword as thin as a cicada's wing appeared out of thin air in her hand, emitting a deep blue light. As soon as this immortal sword appeared, it caused the surrounding space to shake greatly as if it was about to split open. Shuiyu could feel that this immortal sword was extraordinary. The pressure it emitted when it appeared made her feel cold all over. She fell in love with this immortal sword at first glance. Thank you, big sis Yan'er. This time, Shuiyu thanked her from the bottom of her heart. Gu Yan'er intimately pulled Shuiyu's hand, and then used the immortal sword to cut her finger. She then taught her how to put away the immortal sword and how to nurture it. Then she proudly said, You don't need to thank me, younger sister Yu. We're a family from now on, so there's no need to be so polite. She was very satisfied. She knew that Tan Xiu always had scruples about their master and disciple relationship, and never wanted to have any romantic relationship with her. But now, She seemed to see a shortcut that could make Tan Xiao accept her and become his woman. That was, to get the approval of all his women. Tan Xiao had a headache looking at the two women who suddenly became intimate with each other. Especially the way Shui Yu addressed Gu Yan'er and her attitude toward her. He wanted to reprimand the two women, but he was afraid that Gu Yan'er would feel sad. Finally, he could only suppress the depression inside his heart. You should go back, Yan'er. Gu Yan'er smiled and said, Don't worry, master. I just came out and don't need to go back so soon. By the way, where are you going next? Do you want me to send you there? Tan Xiao thought for a while. Suddenly, his eyes lit up and he smilingly said, If so, then come with me to do something. Ning City, Haiqing Province. Take us there now. All right. Gu Yan'er held Tan Xiao's arm again and gently grabbed Shui Yu's shoulder. A huge aura spread out and the three figures instantly disappeared. After a while, just when Tan Xiao and Shui Yu felt dizzy, the three of them had appeared in a remote place in the east of Ning City. We've arrived. We've arrived? Shui Yu looked around in surprise with a puzzled look in her eyes. Yan'er has the strength of an immortal. Let alone such a short distance, she can even reach the moon in a moment, Tan Xiao said with a smile. Let's go. There's no need to rush since we've arrived in Ning City. Let's go to the Miao family first and then make plans later. Shui Yu looked at Tan Xiao skeptically. Although she had suddenly become a real powerhouse and had reached the late stage of spirit formation, she had never learned any spells and naturally didn't know the speed of flying. Soon, when the three of them boarded a taxi and entered the bustling streets of the city, she finally realized that they had indeed returned to Peace City. The shock in her heart made her yearn to learn how to fly and fly freely in the sky. How great would that be? At the Miao family's manor, when the taxi driver was coerced by Tan Xiao to drive to the gate, Tan Xiao smiled and handed a few 100 yuan bills to the taxi driver. Then, he entered the manor under the respectful gazes of the 6 guards of the Miao family. Brother Tang. After receiving the news, Tan Xiao had almost arrived at his residence and hurriedly came out to greet him. When he saw the two women next to Tan Xiao, his mouth instantly gaped and his eyes stared like copper bells. Another stunning beauty? Tan Xiao couldn't help laughing and said, Do you have to show such an expression, Brother Miao? Let me introduce you. She's Gu Yan'er, my apprentice. She's also master's woman. Gu Yan'er hurriedly added. Tan Xiao angrily glared at her and said, Don't listen to this Yan'er girl's nonsense, Brother Miao. I'm convinced, Brother Tang. He forced a smile and said, The women around you are more beautiful than the other. The women around you are more beautiful than the other. It's as if all the beauties in the world have become your women. You're already so old, so don't joke with me here. Tan Xiao snappily said with a smile. Let's go. Let's sit down and have a cup of tea first. After Ao and the others report the situation, we'll go straight to the Lian family and annihilate this evil family. Upon hearing Tan Xiao's words, Miao Wentong immediately suppressed the shock in his heart and nodded with a solemn expression. The Lian family will always be a malignant tumor if we don't eradicate them. But we can't act rashly now, no? What if? There's no what if. Tan Xiao waved and said, I naturally won't act against the Lian family if I don't have full assurance. Just put your heart at ease, Brother Miao. Brother Tang, your trump card is? Asked Miao Wentong, confused. Pointing to Gu Yan'er, Tan Xiao smilingly said, My precious disciple has come, so I'll let her exercise her hands and feet. Even if we don't act, the Lian family will be annihilated today. Miao Wentong looked at Gu Yan'er and incredulously said, Brother Tang, you mean Miss Gu? How is this possible? Please don't joke with me. Are you looking down on women? Asked Tan Xiao with a faint smile. I won't look down on women if it's just women. Miao Wentong shook his head and forced a wry smile. But Miss Gu is young and she's also your disciple. How could she have the means to deal with the Lian family? Brother Tang, this is a serious matter, so we can't harm Miss Gu. You know about the everlasting feast hall, but do you know who founded it? Tan Xiao let out a strange smile. Of course I know. The little boss is Gu Xiaoxiu as master. You what? You mean? That's right. Yan'er is Xiaoxiu as master. Tan Xiao nodded and smilingly said, You should understand now, right? Miao Wentong gulped down his saliva and looked at Gu Yan'er with a shocked expression. He murmured, "It turns out that reaching a certain level of cultivation can really preserve one's youth forever. Little Gu no, it's Senior Gu. I never thought that the founder of the Everlasting Feast Hall, Senior Gu, would be so young and beautiful." "Alright, don't flatter me." Tan Xiao couldn't help laughing. "This trick won't work on Yan'er. I think his words are very useful, master." Gu Yan'er smiled. "I'm indeed as beautiful as a flower, young and promising. Otherwise, how could I be worthy of you, master?" Miao Wentong's brain was a bit short-circuited. He couldn't see the real relationship between Tan Xiao and Gu Yan'er at this moment. "I'm really sorry. I was too tired during the day in Singapore, so I returned to the hotel at 9 p.m. I just wanted to lean on the bed for a while and then write, but I fell asleep due to exhaustion and missed the update time. I've kept you waiting for a long time, brothers and sisters. I ask you to support me for the monthly tickets since Jingya insists on continuously updating. Thank you very much. _. Chapter 902. At night, at the residence of the Miao family's patriarch, Miao Wentong, Mo Ao, Jin Shi, and the others received the news from Tan Xiao and hurried over. They reported the results of their investigation of the Lien family in the past few days, but in the end, they still didn't find out who was behind the Lien family. "I'll go with Yan'er. You guys stay here and wait for the results." Tan Xiao pondered for a moment, and finally made a decision. "Brother Tang, I know you and Senior Gu are very powerful, but only the two of you are going to the Lien family this time. What if?" said Miao Wentong quickly. Tan Xiao waved his hand and said, "Brother Miao, you don't need to address Yan'er as a senior. Just call her by her name. As for the two of us, you can rest assured. Even if the other party is someone from the netherworld, with Yan'er around, it won't be a problem." Miao Wentong hesitated for a while before he nodded and said, "Since you don't want my clansmen to follow you, then you should at least let me and all follow you. Their strength is very strong. Even if they are compared to me, I'm afraid they are not inferior to me. Even if I let them support me from the periphery, I will be at ease." Tan Xiao smiled and said, "If that's the case, then you can follow us. There's no time to lose. If we wait until daybreak, it'll be inconvenient for us to do our work. Let's go straight to the Lien family." Gu Yan'er chuckled and said, "Tell me where the Liens live, or tell me their family's appearance. I'll take you there." "What do you mean, boss? Boss Gu has been to Peace City before?" Miao Wentong was puzzled. Gu Yan'er said, "I did come to Peace City before, but that was more than 20 years ago." Miao Wentong suddenly understood, and then told Gu Yan'er the address of the Lien family. In addition, at Gu Yan'er's request, he also told her the architectural features of the Lien family. A moment later, just as Miao Wentong was about to call someone to prepare the car, he felt the world spin around him. Then he saw that his surroundings had changed. What's going on?" Miao Wentong couldn't help but exclaim as he looked around, dumbfounded. Just a moment ago he was still sitting in his house. How did he end up somewhere else in the blink of an eye? "No, this is the periphery of the Lien family?" Tan Xiao smiled faintly and said, "Brother Miao, don't be surprised. Yan'er's strength is not something you can imagine. Alright, you guys stay here to provide support. Yan'er and I will go in directly. Of course, if we encounter any danger inside, we will have a way to notify you." "Alright." Mo Ao glanced at Miao Wentong. Although they were also shocked, they were able to control their emotions well. In the wee hours, the Lien family mountain villa was filled with a tranquil atmosphere, especially in the northern mountain villa. It was deathly silent. Other than the Lien family's ancestors in the lower space, there were no other creatures. However, Tan Xiao and Gu Yan'er could see that there were more than 40 experts of the Lien family, divided into 6 teams, constantly patrolling the periphery of the Netherworld Grand Formation. The security is very tight. A smile hung on the corner of Gu Yan'er's mouth. She seemed to enjoy going out alone with Tan Xiao to do things. It's indeed very tight. If we didn't have the invisibility talisman I refined, I'm afraid we would have been discovered by them by now. Tan Xiao smiled faintly. This Netherworld Grand Formation is useless against us, so I'll take you inside. Alright. Tan Xiao hugged Gu Yan'er's slender waist, and the smile on her beautiful and charming face turned thicker. After a while, the duo silently appeared in the underground space under the rockery, and looked at an old man sitting cross-legged. Tan Xiao moved lightning fast and instantly killed him. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth as he said, "There were originally 3 Lien family's ancestors here. I'm afraid they have noticed that I've killed 2 of them, so they added 2 of them to those secret chambers. Yan'er, if my guess is correct, these 49 secret chambers should form a brand new array. And this array is very beneficial to the Lien family's ancestors." "It's the Netherworld Grand Formation," said Gu Yan'er. "Outside is the Netherworld Grand Formation, and here is the Netherworld Grand Formation." Tan Xiao frowned. How did the Lien family arrange these 2 arrays? One had to know that setting up this kind of formation required very special materials, as well as very special methods. Even if a golden core stage cultivator wants to set up these 2 formations, I'm afraid it's just a dream. "Master, the Lien family's ancestors have already turned into half-ghosts." Gu Yan'er sighed faintly. "I can sense something special in their bodies." "What is it?" Tan Xiao was confused. "How come I didn't notice it?" asked Gu Yan. After asking, Tan Xiao's complexion turned a bit red. He realized that his current strength was like the difference between heaven and earth compared to Gu Yan'er. Although Gu Yan'er could sense it, he didn't necessarily feel it. "I'll tell you later, Master," said Gu Yan'er with a chuckle. As she spoke, she gently raised her arms, and 2 huge airflows instantly passed away. In just a few seconds, the Lien family's ancestors in the 49 secret chambers were all swept up by the 2 airflows and pulled in front of the 2 people. Looking at their greatly changed expressions, Gu Yan'er instantly moved to confine them. "Damn it. Who the hell are you?" One of the Lien family's ancestors, who was clad in a red robe with his hair combed into a bun and a black mole on the corner of his mouth, struggled and roared with a flushed face. Tan Xiao snorted coldly. His eyes swept over the 49 people and slowly asked, "Answer my question and I'll give you a quick death. Else, I have plenty of means to make you beg for death. I'm sure you're well aware of the feeling of living a life worse than death when you torture others, right? Tell us your origin first if you want us to answer your question," shouted the red-robed old man angrily. "Else, we won't answer your question even if we have to die." "You don't know who I am at all," said Tan Xiao with a faint smile. "Even if I tell you, it's just a waste of my breath. But I can dispel your doubts." "What doubts?" asked the red-robed old man. "Didn't your Lien family's people go to seek revenge under the leadership of the patriarch?" Tan Xiao said. "All of them died in my hands." The red-robed old man's expression drastically changed upon hearing it. Although he couldn't even turn his head, he still shouted fiercely, "Guodong, tell me the reason." The only old man in a Chinese tunic suit looked at Tan Xiao in disbelief and shouted, "Did you kill them? Damn it. Did you kill my father and 6th uncle as well?" "That's right. I did kill 2 Lien family's ancestors," said Tan Xiao. "Presumably, those 2 old geezers are your father and 6th uncle. Grandpa Jiao, the current patriarch of our family, Lien Bai, led his clansmen to seek revenge against the enemy who killed the younger brother of the current patriarch, as well as several talented clansmen of our family," shouted the old man in a Chinese tunic suit. The red-robed old man snorted coldly and looked at Tan Xiao asking, "Are you the enemy of our family?" "I wasn't, but now I am." Tan Xiao shook his head. The red-robed old man was silent for a few seconds and slowly asked, "What do you want to know?" "What exactly is the situation of your Lien family?" Tan Xiao smilingly asked. "Why did someone in your Lien family arrange the Underworld Grand Array and the Netherworld Grand Array? Also, where did you get the ghost cultivation technique? What I want to know the most is the origin of the person behind your Lien family." "You know the Underworld Grand Array and the Netherworld Grand Array?" exclaimed the red-robed old man in shock. "Damn. Who the hell are you?" "I'm a cultivator," answered Tan Xiao. The red-robed old man fiercely glared at Tan Xiao and fiercely said, "I know you're a cultivator, but there's no enmity between us. Why did you kill my Lien family's people? Why did you break into my family's land at night and attack us?" "There's a saying that I don't like very much," said Tan Xiao. Good and evil can't coexist. Of course, this excuse is a bit far-fetched, but I really don't like to see the strong killing the weak, especially those who have cultivated to the point of being neither human nor ghost, killing ordinary people. The red-robed old man coldly snorted and threatened. There's a saying that good and evil can't coexist. But I can warn you that the person behind my family is a terrifying existence you can't even imagine. He needs our family to provide them with human souls and blood, and our family needs cultivation techniques to become stronger. If you dare to shake the foundation of our family and destroy the situation they have painstakingly arranged, I'm sure they will find you soon and tear you to pieces. Suddenly, he blinked and grinned. I'm really sorry. What I said was a bit light. Even if they tear you to pieces, it won't be enough to vent the hatred in their hearts. They will definitely extract your souls and imprison you in the boundless ghost fire to burn you forever, making you wail in extreme pain and turn into ashes. Tan Xiu's expression slightly changed. He could feel the temperature of the surrounding air plummeting by more than 10 degrees. Along with the gust of cold wind, for black flames appeared out of thin air. What a bunch of tricks! Tan Xiu snorted coldly. Immediately, a black sickle appeared in Gu Yenner's hand. As the sickle gently swept in front of her, two shrill screams rang out. Two clouds of black smoke transformed into human figures, two guys brimming with yin energy, and were cut in half at the waist, wailing in pain on the ground. Damn it! What kind of terrifying person did your Lien family provoke? Immortal force? You're from the immortal world. The other two balls of ghost fire transformed into black mist and finally condensed into two figures. They had cyan faces and fangs in their mouths, making them look particularly ugly. Gu Yenner flicked her fingers and imprisoned the two ghosts. She then sneered and said, "You're just some lowly ghost generals of the underworld. Yet you dare to meddle in the affairs of the mortal world? Is there something wrong with your underworld? Is the Ghost King here no longer restraining you? Please spare our lives, Immortal." The two ghost generals screamed in great panic. Their voices were sharp, like the sound of foam rubbing against glass, very harsh to the ears. Between April 1st and April 7th, 2017. This book will be free for 7 days on the QQ Reading app and Qidian Reading app. This is a small benefit to repay the many fans who have supported Silent Night for so many years. Friends who like Silent Night can download the app to read. Chapter 903. After inquiring, Tan Xiu finally understood the reason. It turned out that these four ghost generals obtained an ancient secret technique in the netherworld and learned how to connect the netherworld and the mortal world from it. Coincidentally, the end of the passageway they opened was the Lien family's residence. So to say, the underworld Great Array and the netherworld Great Array were arranged by the four of you? The netherworld cultivation technique practiced by the Lien family was also taught by you? Asked Tan Xiu in a deep voice. Yes, please spare our lives, exalted Immortal, replied the two ghost kings with fear and trepidation. Tan Xiu shook his head. Having figured out the root cause of the matter, he no longer cared about anything else. He turned to look at Gu Yenner and lightly said, "Let it all end." All right. A murderous glint flashed in Gu Yenner's eyes as she instantly killed the two ghost monarchs and the Lien clan's 49 ancestors. In her eyes, whether it was the Ghost Kings or the Lien family's ancestors, all of them were like ants. She who had killed countless people didn't care about them at all. Yenner, search the souls of all the Lien family's clansmen and erase all those who practiced the ghost underworld technique, said Tan Xiu. Also kill all the martial artists of the Lien family. What about the old, the weak, women and children? Asked Gu Yenner. Spare those who don't have the ability to participate in the Lien family's evil deeds, said Tan Xiu indifferently. Remember, we can't kill the innocent, but we can't let anyone who deserves to be killed go. A few minutes later, all the people who practiced the netherworld cultivation technique in the Lien family manor died silently, including dozens of martial artists. Even Gu Yenner had thoroughly figured out the situation of the Lien family's people through the soul search. Finally, dozens of other Lien family members who deserved to be killed in various parts of the country also died silently. Of course, whether it was the Underworld Great Array, the Netherworld Great Array, or the blood pool on the altar, Guyena had taken them all back. In addition, the passageway was naturally destroyed by her. Go back. Tan Xiao waited for Guyen to finish doing these things and ordered in a deep voice. In an instant, Tan Xiao, Guyen and Miao Wentong, Mo, and the others, who were waiting near the Lien family's manor house, all returned to the Miao family's manor house and returned to the living room of the villa where Miao Wentong lived. How was it, Brother Tang? Miao Wentong had been waiting for news. When he realized that he and the others had returned, he immediately asked anxiously. Everything has been solved. Tan Xiao nodded and said, this malignant tumor of the Lien family has been completely eradicated. However, there is something I need you to do. Miao Wentong asked in disbelief. It's not a problem for me to do something, but you said it's all settled? How did you solve it? It hasn't been long since you entered the Lien family's mountain villa, right? Old brother Miao, we've killed all the clansmen of the Lien family who practiced nether realm cultivation techniques. Tan Xiao said with a faint smile. In fact, all of the Lien clan's cultivators had died. From now on, the Lien family would no longer exist in the strange doors. As for the remaining members of this family, let them live and die on their own. Miao Wentong looked at Tan Xiao and Guyen in shock, especially Guyen. Her strength had shocked him to the point that it was hard for him to recover. After being silent for a long while, he said, what do you want me to do, Brother Tang? Tell the Miao family to take the blame. Tell them that the Lien family was eliminated by your family, said Tan Xiao. But it's not without benefits. You only need to leave some of the Lien family's properties to the remaining members, while the rest will belong to your family. Can you lend Ao and his brothers to me for a few days? Miao Wentong hesitated. The Lien family is, after all, a member of the Strange Doors. I need some experts to help me in case they have a good relationship with the Lien family. Tan Xiao nodded. He then looked at Mo and the others and said, you all stay in Ning City for the time being and listen to Brother Miao's arrangement. Come back to me after you've completely solved the Lien family's matter. Understood. Mo and the others replied respectfully. I want to go to Jingmen Island, Tan Xiao, said Shuiyu suddenly. Tan Xiao hesitated for a moment. He looked at the smiling Guyen and immediately nodded. Yen since Shuiyu wants to go to Jingmen Island, take her with you when you go back. Although she has obtained Dao Master Guai's inheritance, and her cultivation has soared, she still can't control her own power. Help her well and improve her state of mind as soon as possible. Don't worry. Guyen chuckled. I know what to do. The next moment, Tan Xiao had returned to Shanghai. It was Guyen who sent him back. The two women didn't stay in Shanghai, and directly went to Jingmen Island. Blue Star Villa Complex. After washing up, Tan Xiao recalled the recent events and a bitter smile appeared on his handsome face. He had painstakingly studied the 6 starlight array diagram, and finally opened the Immortal trove. Yet, it turned out that he had made a wedding dress for others and risked having his identity exposed. Forget it. It can be considered as keeping the goodies within the family. Sitting on the bed, Tan Xiao couldn't help but sigh. Suddenly, he remembered the mobile he threw into the interspatial ring. He hadn't checked it for so many days, so he didn't know if there was anything else. However, when he took it out, he found that it was out of battery and automatically shut down. A few minutes later, Tan Xiao charged it and turned it on. He then received a lot of text messages, many of which called him, but the most he received were 2 numbers. One was Zhang Xinyue's number, which he didn't expect, and the other was an unfamiliar number. However, he didn't rush to return the call since it was late at night. He felt that it was more important to sleep first. After all, he hadn't slept for 4 or 5 days. Early morning, Tan Xiao was awakened by the ringtone of his mobile. When he opened his eyes and grabbed the phone, he found that the caller was Zhang Xinyue. Strange. What's wrong with her? Why does she keep calling me? Tan Xiao pondered for a moment before he pressed the answer button and said, Xinyue, it's Tan Xiao. Zhang Xinyue's grumbling voice came out of the phone. Tan Xiao, you finally turned on your phone. I've been calling you these days, but I couldn't get through to you. Where are you now? I have an urgent matter to talk to you. Blue Star Villa Complex, said Tan Xiao. What's the urgent matter? Asked Tan Xiao. Zhang Xinyue was silent for a moment and then said, It's not about me but my big sister. Tan Xiao, can you see my big sister? What's wrong with Xinya? Asked Tan Xiao confused. My big sister has been in a bad mood recently, said Zhang Xinyue bitterly. She's been in a bad mood ever since she came back from Qingqing Mountain. Especially recently, she's been torturing herself. She's desperately taking jobs and commercial performances, flying around the world almost every day. I met her a few days ago, and then I found out that she's lost more than 10 pounds. Tan Xiao opened his mouth and helplessly said, Xinyue, you know that it's impossible between me and your big sister. If I contact her now, I can only stimulate her, and it won't do her any good. When it comes to relationships, I think it's best to cut through the Gordian knot. I naturally know that cutting the Gordian knot is the best result, said Zhang Xinyue bitterly. But I'm afraid she won't be able to bear it if she continues to torture herself like this. Tan Xiao, my big sister is the most important person in my heart. I can't watch her get into trouble and be indifferent. Even if I know that it's not a good choice for her to be with you, I can't care about it anymore. Tan Xiao fell into silence. The thread of love could never be cut and sorted out. Since he couldn't give Zhang Xinyue a future, the only thing he could do was to make her give up the thought that it was better for her to suffer for a short time than to prolong the pain. However, she was so stubborn that it gave him a headache. What Zhang Xinyue said might be right. If she couldn't bear it and an accident happened to her, he was afraid that he would carry the guilt toward her for a long time. Where is she now? After weighing the pros and cons, Tan Xiao forced a smile and asked. She flew to Tea Country yesterday. I couldn't stop her no matter how hard I tried, said Zhang Xinyue. I'll send the specific address to your mobile phone. All right. Tan Xiao replied and hung up the phone. Suddenly, he recalled that he saw another unfamiliar number last night. It was the number that called him dozens of times in the past few days. He then dialed it back. Boss Tang? An excited voice came from the phone. I'm Tan Xiao speaking. May I ask who is this? Said Tan Xiao. I'm Yang Pingqiao. I'm Yang Pingqiao who sold you the jade monkey. Didn't you send someone to bring my girlfriend, Yuli's mother, to Shanghai? We've already brought her to Shanghai, but we couldn't get in touch with you. Yang Pingqiao's voice came from the phone. Tan Xiao stared blankly for a moment. He immediately let out a hollow laugh and said, I'm really sorry. I've encountered some things recently, so I forgot about it. Where are you now? I'll go to you after the party. We're at the Paradise Manor, said Yang Pingqiao. Wait for me there. I'll be there in an hour, said Tan Xiao. Originally, Tan Xiao thought that there were not many things left after opening the Immortal Trove. He didn't expect that things would happen one after another. It was as if there was a pair of hands constantly pushing him forward. Zhang Xinyue's matter, Yang Pingqiao's future mother-in-law's matter, his own preparations to go to Nine Dragons Island, and even the jade pig that he was waiting for news to come to Tea Country. One after another, he realized that he was really busy. When Tan Xiao thought of Nine Dragons Island, he immediately called Long Zhengyu and learned that the project there had reached the final step. It was estimated that it would enter the final stage in half a month at most, and he needed to go there personally to finish the finishing work. Tan Xiao, I just returned to Star City a few days ago and need to deal with some things here. I should go to Nine Dragons Island in a week. When will you be there? Long Zhengyu finally smelled something on the phone. Tan Xiao thought for a moment and said, I'll rush to Nine Dragons Island from somewhere else a week later. Let's keep in touch by phone. That's right. If you pass by Hong Kong after going to Nine Dragons Island, go to the Grand Fortune Jewelry's headquarters in Hong Kong and ask Hao Lei for some jade stones. Also, help me bring them there on the way. All right. Long Zhengyu replied and hung up the phone. Chapter 904. In the hot summer, the Paradise Manor's business was particularly booming due to its beautiful environment and picturesque scenery. Even in the morning, Tan Xiao found many guests scattered everywhere. Many of them were families of 3 or couples enjoying the sunshine and beautiful scenery. Interesting. As excavators and cranes appeared in his line of sight, a smile appeared on Tan Xiu's face. Ouyang Lulu had previously mentioned to him that she was preparing to build a resort hotel in a spacious and empty space in the Paradise Manor, turning it into a top-notch resort. Now that those construction vehicles appeared, they should be ready to start construction. Knock, knock. Just as Tan Xiu stopped the car and looked at the construction vehicles in the distance, someone knocked on the window from the outside. Tan Xiu looked outside and immediately saw Ouyang Lulu bending down, revealing her white and deep skin, with her billowy breasts. With a faint smile, Tan Xiu opened the door and got off. He looked at Ouyang Lulu, who was clad in a fiery red dress with her flowing black hair, and said with a smile, "Are you ready to build a resort hotel?" "Yeah." Ouyang Lulu giggled. "I'm looking forward to your coming back." Tan Xiu stared blankly for a moment before he couldn't help laughing and said, "What are you looking forward to my coming back for? I don't know anything about building a resort hotel, so I can only help you draw the architectural drawings at most." Ouyang Lulu raised her brows and immediately patted the back of her head in annoyance, saying, "I'm really muddle-headed. I forgot that you can draw architectural drawings. What a loss. I even spent money to find someone to design a resort hotel for me. No need, no need. Besides that, you have to hurry up and draw the design for our exclusive hotel." "No problem," Tan Xiu said with a smile. "But what's the other thing you mentioned?" Ouyang Lulu stretched out her hand and said with a sneaky smile, "I don't have enough money. I want money." Cough, cough. Tan Xiu was at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh. "If I remember correctly, you told me a few days ago that the Paradise Manor's turnover is very good. Isn't it a gold mine every day? It has been operating for more than half a year. Yet you're still short of money?" Ouyang Lulu giggled and said, "You don't know how expensive daily necessities are, do you? I earn a lot, but I also spend a lot of money. The most important thing is that I'm going to build a 5-star hotel, so the money I earned in this half a year is naturally not enough." Tang Xiu suddenly understood. He pondered for a moment and then said, "All right. I'll check how much money I have in my account later. Since you want to build according to the 5-star standard, then let's do it." Ouyang giggled and said Ouyang Lulu giggled. "Is there anything else?" asked Tang Xiu confused. Ouyang Lulu blinked her eyes and whispered, "Can I owe a debt or not? Can I owe everlasting debt to Everlasting Feast Hall? What debt do you owe the Everlasting Feast Hall? I need to cultivate." Cultivation. Cultivation needs cultivation resources, and the Everlasting Feast Hall's medicinal pills are too expensive. If I were to expand the Paradise Manor, I would be poor for a long time. Young Paradise Manor. End of manor. Manor. Tan Xiu didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he said, "If you need medicinal pills, just ask me directly. Let's go, I'll treat you Li's mother first. After I'm done, I'll give you some pills. I guarantee that you won't have to worry about cultivation resources for the next few years." "That's great." Ouyang Lulu was overjoyed. She hugged Tan Xiu's neck and kissed his face. Nearby, 2 young men were walking toward the direction of the parking lot. One of them, a handsome young man, saw Ouyang Lulu's action and immediately revealed a look of disbelief. His eyes shifted to Tan Xiu's body and turned hostile. "Yang Yang, your love rival has appeared." Wang Wei had a faint smile on his face as he glanced at Yang Yang beside him. Then he took out a cigarette and lit it up. Only then did he smile slowly. Yang Yang ignored Wang Wei and looked at Ouyang Lulu and Tan Xiu coming toward him. He strode forward to greet them and asked in a deep voice, "Lulu, who is he?" Upon seeing the 2 men in front of her, Ouyang Lulu's flower-like smile immediately disappeared and was replaced with an angry expression. She coldly snorted and said, "Yang Yang, how many times have I told you that you can't call me Lulu? Please call me by my full name. Also, who he is has nothing to do with you. Scram as far as you can from me. Else don't blame me for being rude to you." Yang Yang angrily glared at Tan Xiu and said in a deep voice, "I don't give a damn who you are. Lulu is the woman I like. Stay away from her in the future." "Who are you?" asked Tan Xiu. "Who am I?" Yang Yang sneered. "I'm someone you can't afford to provoke. Know your place and get the fuck out of here, else the consequences will be very serious." Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing and shook his head. He then looked at Ouyang Lulu and asked, "Where did this guy come from? Is he pursuing you?" "He's from Chuan province, an ancient martial arts aristocratic family, the Yang family," said Ouyang Lulu. "My mom and his mother have some friendship, so I put up with him, else I would have driven him away long ago." Tan Xiu had never heard of this family, so he looked at Yang and said, "Young man, it's fine if you like beautiful women. Chase them yourself if you have the ability. Don't threaten others with a childish tone. Also, it's best to figure out the identity of others before you act arrogantly and threaten them. Else it's easy to attract a calamity to your family." Yang's expression turned uglier. He was annoyed by Ouyang Lulu's words and Tan Xiu's attitude, so he angrily shouted, "Brat, you're courting death. Wait." Wang Wei, who stood at the side, put his hand on Yang's shoulder and looked at Tan Xiu with a bit of curiosity in his eyes. Then he said, "Friend, you're right. Being arrogant and domineering without figuring out the other party's identity is indeed something only stupid people would do. But we're all young men, so there's no need to be secretive. Can you tell us who you are?" Tan Xiu gently hugged Ouyang Lulu in his arms and chuckled. "I'm her man. Is this identity enough?" Wang Wei shook his head and sighed. "You look young. You should be 21 or 22 years old, no? I just thought it was ridiculous for you to call Yang a young man. But now it seems that it's really ridiculous. You don't even dare to say who you are. Alas." "Who are you?" asked Tan Xiu. "Singapore Wang family," answered Wang Wei. "A Singaporean Chinese?" asked Tan Xiu curiously. "Could it be that your family can extend their hands into China?" "You don't need to worry about whether my family can extend their hands into China or not," said Wang Wei confidently. "Of course, I'm not like you who hides and doesn't dare to say it. My family is preparing to carry out a large-scale investment in China in the near future, and our industry will gradually move back. Therefore, it won't be long before my name, Wang Wei, will appear in China's business circle." "Congratulations," said Tan Xiu with a smile. "I guarantee that your Wang family's industry won't be able to return to China because of your cynicism. Just wait and see if you don't believe me." Wang Wei rolled his eyes and ridiculed. "Who do you think you are? You think you can represent the country's will? You think you can push the money out of the door? You're really stupid." Ouyang Lulu shot a sympathetic look at Wang Wei and said, "What he said is true. I'm afraid your Wang family's business strategy will be aborted. I thought you were better than this Yang, but I never thought that you would stand up for such a guy and ruin the chance of your Wang family to develop in China." Wang Wei slightly furrowed his brows and looked at Tan Xiu with a solemn expression, saying, "Friend, I'll ask you again. Who are you?" Tan Xiu didn't want to bother with these two guys, so he directly mentioned the Tang family. "Imperial capital, Tang family Tan Xiu." Yang sneered. "The children of those officials in the imperial capital? No wonder you're so arrogant and dare to threaten us. However, my Yang family is an ancient martial arts family. Your family's heritage isn't something your family can compare with. Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't court disaster for your family. Otherwise, humph." "Otherwise what?" Tan Xiu's face turned cold and asked in a deep voice. "Otherwise, your Tang family will suffer heavy losses, and you and your close relatives will also suffer crazy revenge." Yang snorted coldly. "Don't think I'm just scaring you. You don't know the Yang family's heritage." "Lulu, if you really want him to get the hell out of here immediately, you must know the strength of my Yang family, right? Idiot." Ouyang Lulu cursed. She then turned to look at Tan Xiu and said, "I'll tell you first. His mother has a good relationship with my mom. If the Yang family is destroyed, his mother will definitely seek shelter from my mom. Dear, you must give Auntie a way out for my sake when the time comes." Tan Xiu was at a loss whether to cry or laugh. "Why do you say that I'm a homicidal maniac? Just because of such a trivial matter, I won't go so far as to destroy their entire family." After saying that, he took out his mobile and dialed Gu Xiaoxue's number. After the other party picked up, he said, "Investigate the Yang family in Chuan province for me. I don't know the specifics of this family. I'll tell Lulu to tell you later." "Yes, Grandmaster." Gu Xiaoxue respectfully replied. However, she hesitated and suddenly asked, Grand Master, you really agree to let my master be your woman? Just like Miss Xue? Tan Xiao stared blankly and immediately let out a wry smile. Why are you asking about these things, child? Just focus on your cultivation. I'm not young anymore, Grand Master. I'm older than you, said Gu Xiaoxue angrily. You're just a child in my eyes, said Tan Xiao. After saying that, Tan Xiao directly hung up the phone. Yang Yang and Wang Wei exchanged glances. They were keenly aware of the sensitive word cultivation in Tan Xiao's call just now. Could it be, he's also a cultivator? Yang Yang took a deep breath and sneered. If my guess is correct, you should be a martial artist, right? I'm hailed as the cultivation genius of my family, the strongest among the younger generation. How about we have a match? I won't bully you, so I'll let you use only one hand. Not interested. Tan Xiao lightly shook his head. A cold glint flashed in Yang Yang's eyes as he instantly dashed toward Tan Xiao. His fist was very fast, mixed with the whistling sound of the wind, and quickly smashed in front of Tan Xiao. Tan Xiao's complexion slightly changed. He didn't expect that this guy would directly attack him, even ignoring Ouyang Lulu in his arms. Chapter 905. Tan Xiao had always adhered to the principle of, I won't offend others if they don't offend me, but I'll definitely offend them if they offend me. He was originally too lazy to deal with a nobody like Yang Yang. However, he didn't expect that this guy would attack him without a second thought. Scram. The seemingly light punch directly collided with Yang Yang's fist. As the sound of bones breaking rang out, Yang Yang let out a blood-curdling scream. His entire arm was instantly twisted, and his body was sent flying by the huge recoil, smashing into the cement floor 7 or 8 meters away. Wang Wei's pupils shrunk with a horrified expression. He knew that Yang Yang's strength was something that even he was ashamed of being inferior to. However, he never expected that Yang Yang would be defeated so miserably in just a single exchange of fists between the two of them. How are you? Wang Wei was scared and dashed to Yang Yang's side. He helped him sit up and asked with a concerned expression. Yang Yang looked at Tan Xiao in disbelief as though he had seen a ghost in broad daylight. He was very strong and couldn't be compared to a martial arts grandmaster. Ordinary experts wouldn't be able to last long in front of him. But how did he lose just like that? Tan Xiao disdainfully glanced at Yang Yang and indifferently said, I didn't even use my full strength to kill the Amur tiger in the imperial capital last year. I didn't even use 1% of my strength, yet you lost so miserably. So I'm really too lazy to deal with a nobody like you, but I didn't expect you to be so reckless. The Amur tiger? Yang Yang stared blankly and suddenly realized something. He endured the heart-wrenching pain in his fist and arm as he struggled to get up from the ground and hurriedly shouted, Did you kill the Amur tiger? Impossible. It's absolutely impossible. The one who killed the Amur tiger is from the imperial capital. His expression froze and his body couldn't help but shiver a few times. Who among the ancient martial arts families in the country didn't know how terrifying the Amur tiger was? Everyone knew that the Amur tiger was not a martial artist, but a cultivator. The news that the Amur tiger, who had lived for such a long time and possessed astonishing strength, was killed in the imperial capital had long been spread everywhere. The Tang family. Imperial capital Tang family. Yang Yang hadn't thought of this earlier, so he wasn't afraid of those families in the imperial capital. However, when he thought of the Manchurian tiger's death, his entire body turned cold, and his heart felt as if it had fallen into an ice cave. This was because these ancient martial families were willing to provoke any other family, but not the imperial capital's Tang clan. He still clearly remembered what his father had said to him. If I'm not mistaken, the imperial capital's Tang family has a powerful expert. This expert should be a martial cultivator, but if he's not a martial cultivator, his martial arts cultivation has definitely reached a terrifying level. I'm afraid he alone can slaughter the entire Yang family. Never in Yang Yang's wildest dreams would he have imagined that the terrifying powerhouse that his father had once mentioned would actually be this young man in his early 20s. Wang Wei, however, was oblivious to this. Despite knowing that he was not Tang Xiu's opponent after seeing his brother being severely injured, he still looked up angrily and said in a deep voice, "Friend, aren't you a bit too ruthless? Killing someone is but a simple matter, yet you directly crippled his arm. Don't you know what it means for a martial artist? If I wasn't very strong and was just an ordinary person, that punch of his would have taken half of my life." Tan Xiu sneered. "I only crippled his arm, so it should be considered a light mercy, right?" This? Wang Wei was immediately at a loss for words. He was aware of Yang Yang's strength and knew that Tan Xiu was right. Yang Yang just flew into a rage out of shame and didn't show any mercy. Tan Xiu looked at them with disgust and waved his hand, saying, "Just get the hell out of here. Don't think you can be arrogant and domineering just because you have some martial arts and a good family background. I'm kind-hearted and I don't want to bother with you. Else, let alone you, even your family will be implicated. You're very strong, but I'm afraid you're still lacking compared to that mouth of yours," said Wang Wei angrily. "We'll see what happens in the future." Ignorant. Tan Xiu shook his head. He really didn't feel like looking at them and walked toward the manor with Ouyang Lulu. This matter was just a small episode for him and didn't affect him much. However, he still had to investigate the background of Yang Yang's family to avoid being entangled in this matter in the future. If the other party dared to provoke him again, he would teach his family a lesson. "Lulu, when you talk to Xiaoxue about the Yang family, remember to ask her to send some people to the Yang family to intimidate them." "That's right, I'll use this method to challenge them." "Dear, you're going to make the Yang family lose face in the ancient martial arts world," said Ouyang Lulu with a strange expression. "Losing a bit of face is better than having your whole family exterminated, no?" said Tan Xiu. "I destroyed a family in Ning City last night." Ouyang Lulu pursed her lips. She obviously didn't believe Tan Xiu's words. "If you were in Ning City last night, it's impossible for you to return to Demonic City this morning. Even if we're talking big, we can't leave any loopholes, can we?" Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing. He didn't feel like arguing with Ouyang Lulu about such a pointless topic. After walking inside, he quickly saw Yang Pengchao and Yu Li near the parking lot. A cold glint flashed in Wang Wei's eyes as he looked at Tan Xiu's back as he left. Then he said in a heavy tone, "What an arrogant guy. He's relying on his strength to be so arrogant and despotic. Today's enmity is set. Sooner or later, I'll make him look good." Yang Yang shook his head with a complicated expression. He took a deep breath and bitterly said, "Forget it, Wang Wei. It's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. Besides, we can't deal with him." "What did you say?" Wang Wei frowned with dissatisfaction. His arm was crippled, yet he still spoke in such a subservient manner. "Don't you know that boosting others' morale and lowering your own prestige is the most stupid thing to do?" Yang Yang shook his head and said, "You don't know about the Amur tiger in the northeast. Otherwise, you wouldn't have said that. Forget it. I admit defeat today. Ouyang Lulu is his woman, so I've decided to give up." "What the fuck are you talking about?" Wang Wei angrily said. "I've really misjudged you. I thought you were a man before, but I didn't expect you to be such a coward. So what if he's very powerful? Is he more powerful than a bullet? At worst, I'll just spend some money to hire some powerful assassins to get rid of him silently." Yang Yang's pupils shrunk and he quickly looked around. After finding no one around, he felt a bit relieved and shouted, "Can you not talk nonsense? Even if you want to die, don't use this method. Let me tell you something. If he really killed a Amur tiger, let alone a powerful assassin, even the world's #1 assassin, Spectre, can't kill him." Wang Wei fiercely slapped Yang Yang's face. Then he pointed at his nose and cursed, "Coward! Did he scare you silly? The world's #1 assassin, Spectre, can't kill him? I think the Spectre could kill 10,000 people like him. Fuck, I've seen Spectre kill people before. Although it was a coincidence that I saw it with binoculars from 2 kilometers away, I can guarantee that Spectre can pinch him to death with just one finger." "You're wrong. I can't kill him either." Spectre, who was wearing a black martial arts robe and had his arms crossed, appeared next to a tree about 5 meters away from them. He leaned on the tree and said with a sigh. Yang Yang's expression drastically changed. He had just observed the surroundings and believed that there was no one else within dozens of meters. So, how did this guy come here? Could it be that he's a ghost? After seeing Spectre's face, Wang Wei's legs went soft and he nearly knelt on the ground. He grabbed Yang Yang's arm and staggered back a few steps. Then he stuttered. You're Spectre? Spectre? The world's #1 assassin, Spectre? Didn't you just say that you've seen me kill people by chance? Spectre lightly smiled. What's the fuss about? Is there a need to make such a fuss? Wang Wei released Yang Yang with deep fear in his eyes. He directly knelt down, looked at Spectre and cried, Please, please don't kill us. If someone pays you to kill us, I'm willing to pay 10 times. No. I'm willing to pay 20 times the price. Please spare our lives. Yang Yang was dumbfounded. He didn't expect that Spectre would appear just like that. The #1 assassin in the world, Spectre, had actually appeared in front of them. But how did he come to China? How did he come to Shanghai? How did he come to Paradise Manor? Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? Or, could it be that Wang Wei made a mistake? Spectre lazily raised his head and looked at the glaring sun. He shook his head and sighed, Boring. That's really boring. I thought I could kill 2 chicks to relieve my boredom, but I didn't expect that you guys wouldn't dare to provoke my boss face to face and only dare to talk behind his back. Merciful, too merciful. This boss of mine really has no passion in his life. Boss? Spectre's boss? Yang Yang and Wang Wei suddenly thought of Tan Xiao, and a look of disbelief immediately appeared on their faces. To confirm his speculation, Yang Yang hurriedly asked, You mean, Tan Xiao is your boss? How is this possible? What qualifications does he have to be your boss? You're the world's #1 assassin. Spectre rolled his eyes and snappily said, What my boss just said is right. You guys are really ignorant. Just like there's a saying in China that says frogs at the bottom of a well. That's right. You guys are really frogs at the bottom of a well. You can't even imagine the strength my boss has. Forget it. You won't know it even if I tell you. Anyhow, he seems to have become stronger after coming back this time. Even if he doesn't deliberately release his aura, my legs are still trembling. Chapter 906. Spectre was bored to the point that he felt happy teasing these 2 idiots. He almost burst into laughter when he saw their frightened expressions and shivering bodies. 13 years. 13 years of tempering his state of mind had nearly suffocated him to death. So he became a chatterbox ever since he came to Shanghai from Jingmen Island. He chatted with the auntie who sold the tickets, the tourists on the same bus, the driver, and the security guards at the entrance. In short, he would never miss any chance to waste his saliva. A day in heaven was equivalent to a year on earth. He finally understood the meaning of this sentence. He was thrown into a peculiar array by that fairy-like woman in the Everlasting Feast Hall's HQ in Jingmen Island. The passage of time inside was simply unimaginable. Only when he came out of the array did he realize that it was a time acceleration array. And that woman was called Gu Yenner, the boss's apprentice. That's right. I seem to have recalled something. Ghost looked at the 2 of them, whose faces were filled with fear, and suddenly winked at them. Wang Wei gulped and asked with a trembling heart, What did you recall? Ever since I stepped into the world of assassins, it seems that every spectator who sees me killing people will eventually have their heads cut off, their hearts pierced, and their legs and arms chopped off. You just said that you saw me killing people. Should I cut off your head or pierce your heart? Or should I pierce your heart? Or should I chop off your legs and arms? This kind of multiple choice question really gives me a headache. No. Please spare me. Wang Wei cried out in horror. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have meddled in other people's business. I shouldn't have provoked your boss. I'll apologize. I'll immediately apologize to him. Even if I have to kneel and kowtow. He was afraid. The fear came from Spectre, but more from Tan Xiao. Who was Spectre? He was the dignified #1 assassin in the world of assassins, a ruthless character that even the heads of state dreaded. Yet, such a ruthless person turned out to be Tan Xiao's subordinate. It was simply unimaginable. At this moment, even if he used his toes to think, He could imagine that the terrifying energy Tan Xiao possessed had absolutely reached a horrifying level. He was still young, and he didn't want to die, so he could only put down his pride, bend his spine and curl up his knees. Even if he had to kneel down and beg for mercy, he still hoped to live. A smile was outlined on the corner of Spectre's mouth as he said, "Actually, my boss likes money very much. I may regard money as dirt, but my boss likes it. However, I don't know how much your lives are worth. Tell me. I will only give you one chance." An ecstatic expression appeared on Wang Wei's face as he said without hesitation, 240 million. That's all I have. As long as you don't kill me, I will immediately transfer the money to your boss's account. Yang was stunned. Although he could be considered a rich man, in the past he cared more about practicing martial arts and did not deliberately seek for money. He didn't even have $4 million, let alone 240 million. Can you give me some time? I have no money now, but my family has money. I'll make a call to ask for the money immediately. You give me some time. I'll ask how much money I can get, said Yang bitterly. Spectre rolled his eyes and said, "You still have to pay 240 million. Even a penny less means that your life is not as valuable as this guy's. It's just a cheap life, so I don't want it." Yang shuddered and immediately grabbed his mobile phone. After dialing a cell number, he hurriedly said, "I need money, Mom. I need 240 million. Don't ask me why. I can only tell you that it's related to my life and death. Give me the money. Else you'll only see my dead body." "What the hell happened, son?" A hurried voice came out of the phone. Yang raised his voice and hurriedly cried, "Don't ask me first, Mom. Hurry up and transfer the money to me. Save me. Only money can save me now." All right. Don't worry. I'll get the money right away," said the panicked voice from the phone again. Yang hung up and cautiously looked at Spectre, saying, "I'll transfer the money to you soon. Please wait for a while." Spectre let out a strange laugh and said, "It seems you two cherish your lives very much. All right, I'll spare your lives since you're willing to pay the money honestly. But I can't break my rules. I don't care how strong the force behind you is, but I'll kill you and your loved ones by hook or by crook if you dare to speak a word about me to outsiders." Yes. We'll never speak a word to anyone. We dare not. Yang and Wang Wei promised in fear and trepidation. Spectre proudly smiled and said, "Get the money ready. Go apologize to my boss in person." Having said that, his figure instantly disappeared. Yang and Wang Wei exchanged glances. After a long while, Yang muttered to himself, "Is he a human or a ghost? He can actually vanish into thin air?" He didn't vanish into thin air. It's just that his speed is too fast. We can't see him clearly with our naked eyes. I'm afraid only the world's #1 assassin can have such a terrifying speed. You're right, Yang. We've provoked a terrifying existence, so let's admit our defeat today. All right. Yang took a deep breath and nodded helplessly. In the depths of the Paradise Manor, Yang Pengchao and Yuli stood by the window of a Western-style building in the woods, waiting for Tan Xiao's arrival. Behind the two of them was a pale, dispirited middle-aged woman. She leaned against the headboard of the bed, her eyes filled with the desire to live. These days, she had inquired about the young divine Dr. Tang Xiao's affairs, and the result made her, who had been in despair, see the hope to live again. "Pengchao Lily, has divine Dr. Tang not come yet?" asked Cui Yenru while looking at the backs of the two children. The two turned around and Yuli said, "Mom, divine Dr. Tang said he'll be here in an hour, so he'll definitely be able to do it. He's a man who keeps his promises." "Lily is right, Auntie." Yang Pengchao nodded and said, "Divine Dr. Tang pays attention to his promises the most. Don't worry, he might be here soon." "I was too impatient." Cui Yenru nodded. "But there's something I need to talk to you about before divine Dr. Tang arrives." "Please tell me, Auntie," said Yang Pengchao. "Pengchao, you all know about my illness. The chance of surviving this disease is really too small," said Cui Yenru bitterly. "I don't doubt divine Dr. Tang's medical level, but it's absolutely rare for someone with severe leukemia to be cured. I mean, if Divine Dr. Tang can't cure me, I hope you can treat Lily well in the future. I know my daughter very well. She has chosen you, so she'll treat you wholeheartedly. I believe Divine Dr. Tang can cure your illness, Auntie, said Yang Pengchao. However, in order to reassure you, I have to promise you that no matter what happens in the future, I will never leave you, Li. I will take good care of her. Cui Yanru happily nodded and happily said, Lily is blessed. Yuli walked to the bedside and sat down. She pulled her mother's hand and said, I believe you'll live to a ripe old age, Mom. Pengchao's parents are gone, and he has no relatives left. You're the only one left, and we must be filial to you and take care of you in the future. Therefore, you must be strong and believe in Divine Dr. Tang and actively cooperate with his treatment. I'm sure you'll get better. All right, near the window. Yang Pengchao silently turned his head to look outside the window. A pleasantly surprised look immediately appeared on his face as he quickly said, Divine Dr. Tang is here. Lily, you stay here with Auntie. I'm going to pick him up. No need to pick me up. Tan Xiu's voice suddenly sounded in Yang Pengchao's ears. After a while, the door was pushed open from the outside as Tan Xiu and Ouyang Lulu strode inside. You. Yang Pengchao was dumbfounded. He dared to swear to God that Tan Xiu and Ouyang Lulu were on the path outside the Western-style building a few seconds ago, and they were still dozens of meters away from the building. But how did they come upstairs in just a few seconds? How could they appear in front of him? Even the fastest 100-meter sprint champion in the world wouldn't be able to do this. Tan Xiu let out a faint smile and winked at him. Then he looked at Cui Yanru on the sickbed and smilingly said, You must be Yuli's mother, right? I'm Tan Xiu and she's Ouyang Lulu. Cui Yanru wanted to struggle to get up, but Tan Xiu stopped her. She leaned on the bed and said with a grateful face, Hello, Divine Dr. Tang. I've long heard of your great name. Boss Lulu is a good person, and has been taking care of us these days. You're all good people. Thank you. You're welcome, Tan Xiu said with a smile. If you want to thank someone, thank Yang Pengchao. He's a good young man with a promising future. I agree with the matter of these two children, said Cui Yanru. In fact, I also know that Pengchao is a good person. Even if I die one day, I can feel relieved to hand Lily over to him. Tan Xiu walked to the bedside and grabbed Cui Yanru's hand. While feeling her pulse, he said, As long as I, Tan Xiu, am here, you won't die unless you want to commit suicide. Leukemia isn't an incurable disease, although some cases are very difficult to treat. Half a minute later, Tan Xiu took out a porcelain bottle and handed it to Yuli, saying, There's a drop of medicine inside that I personally concocted. Pour this drop of medicine into warm water, and let your mother take a bath. Remember, the process will be very painful, but she must endure it. She should be able to endure it for about 10 minutes with her physical fitness. You must immediately take a bath after she comes out of the warm water. It will be very beneficial for you. I also have to take a bath, asked Yuli with a blank expression. Not only will this potion have an effect on your mother, but it will also have a very good effect on you. Your physical fitness will be greatly enhanced as long as you can persist in the water for 10 minutes. Chapter 907. The potion Tan Xiu took out was a body-tempering potion that could cultivate the physique and muscles. It was also a good medicine for treating illnesses. As long as the potion's efficacy entered Cui Yanru's body, the white blood cells would be killed, and she would be out of danger. He told Yuli to take a bath because he didn't want to waste the potion's efficacy. After receiving the porcelain bottle, Yuli asked, Divine Dr. Tang, I'll definitely do what you told me. But when will you start treating my mother? I've given you the potion. Isn't it a treatment? Tan Xiu said with a smile. What do you mean? Yuli was confused. Soaking in a bath is a treatment? All right, Tan Xiu said. You go fill the water now and take your mother to take a bath. As for the effect, you'll know after the bath. I'll stay in this paradise manor for the time being. I'll be back in 2 hours. Yuli nodded in a daze and watched Tan Xiu and Ouyang Lulu leave. Then, she looked at Yang Pengchao and whispered, What do you think Divine Dr. Tang means? I've never heard that a leukemia patient can be cured with just a drop of potion. He's not teasing us, is he? Divine Dr. Tang will never tease us for no reason, said Yang Pengchao firmly. He's called a divine doctor, so he must be very powerful. Lily, let's not question Divine Dr. Tang for now. Let Auntie try the effect. If it doesn't work, we'll find Divine Dr. Tang again and ask him to find another way. All right. Yuli complied and carefully propped up her mother, Cui Yanru. After leaving the Western-style house. After the two entered the forest trail, Ouyang Lulu curiously asked, Tan Xiao, can that drop of potion really cure a leukemia patient? Isn't it too inconceivable? It's a potion I personally refined. If it can't even cure an ordinary person's disease, then it's simply useless, said Tan Xiao with a smile. Don't worry. That drop of body refining potion will not only be effective on her, but it will also remove all the white blood cells in her body. As long as she doesn't die from an accident, she'll definitely be healthy for the rest of her life. Ouyang Lulu nodded skeptically and no longer thought about it. Instead, she smilingly said, Did you come to have breakfast this morning? Do you want me to ask someone to prepare some food for you? Tan Xiao smiled and said, To be honest, I haven't eaten yet. Very soon. The two of them appeared in the dining area. Because there were some guests living here, there were many people eating breakfast in the dining area. To Tan Xiao's surprise, Moe was also in the corner of the dining area's public hall, wolfing down food. Professor Mo Tan Xiao walked over and sat opposite Moe. Moe looked up. When he saw Tan Xiao, he immediately said with joy, When did you come back? Why didn't you tell me in advance? It just so happens that I have something very important to tell you. Tan Xiao's mind moved and he asked, Have you researched the results? Thanks to Divine Dr. Gue Jianchou's help, the research product has taken shape. We've tested it. Even if we haven't tested it on humans, we're very satisfied with the results. Just 2 days ago, we sent the drug to Shanghai's first public hospital and prepared to use it on patients. It can also cure diseases. Tan Xiao was surprised. Of course it can cure diseases. Moreover, it can cure many diseases, said Moe with a smile. As a matter of fact, we originally intended to experiment on healthy people, but we were afraid of the side effects, so we gave up. Let's wait and see first. If there are no side effects on patients, we'll use it on ordinary people. Tan Xiao was silent for a moment and suddenly said, I'll send someone to Shanghai's first public hospital immediately to get the results of your research. I'll arrange the people for the experiment. But the side effects? Moe quickly said. Tan Xiao raised his hand to interrupt him and said, Don't worry. As long as I'm here, even if the results of your research have side effects, I have a way to remove them. Professor Mo, I hope that you won't announce the results of your research to me for the time being. Why? Moe was confused. This is a good thing that will benefit all mankind. Moe was puzzled. Once the results of your research are spread out in advance, it will cause a sensation in the world, said Tan Xiao. At that time, countless pairs of blood-red eyes will fall on Paradise Manor and you. Therefore, we must keep it a secret in the early stage to ensure your safety. Moe thought about it and felt that Tan Xiao's words made sense, so he nodded and said, Then we'll listen to you. We've already researched it, so we don't need to worry about the following matters anymore. I'm preparing to go back to Star City in a few days. I've spent a lot of time following up on the research project there, and I've made some progress, so I have to go and help. No problem. You can go back if you want, said Tan Xiao. Shortly after, Tan Xiao asked Ouyang Lulu to call an expert of the Everlasting Feast Hall. After giving him some instructions, he began to eat the meal served by Ouyang Lulu. However, just as Moe put down his chopsticks and was about to leave, Spectre swayed and walked in from the outside. Boss! Upon seeing Tan Xiao, the languid expression on Spectre's face instantly disappeared, and he called out in high spirits. Tan Xiao nodded and asked, How's your immortal cultivation recently? Are you used to living in the Everlasting Feast Hall's HQ in Jingmen Island? Spectre shook his head and forced a smile. I got used to it at first, but a day feels like a year later. However, my state of mind has been improved and my cultivation has reached the early stage of foundation establishment. Tanxiu nodded with satisfaction and said, I know that you can break through to the early stage of foundation establishment. After all, you have a very solid foundation. However, it's not appropriate to say that a day feels like a year when you're cultivating, no? Did you encounter any problems during the process? It's more than a problem. It's a big problem. Spectre sighed. Boss, your apprentice is really amazing. The array she arranged can actually. Tanxiu raised his hand to interrupt him and calmly said, I know she's very powerful and has good attainments in arrays. You don't need to talk about this matter anymore. Since you've come to Demonic City, you'll follow me from now on. Ao and the rest are staying in Ning City to handle some things, so you'll be my driver and bodyguard later. All right. Spectre immediately complied. Tanxiu then looked at Moe and said, You can go back first, Professor Mo. I haven't eaten for a few days and I'm very hungry now. I'll fill my stomach first. Then, I'll take my leave first. Moe shot a deep look at Spectre. He heard the word cultivation from the conversation between Tanxiu and Spectre. He didn't understand the meaning of cultivation before, but now he was very clear about it. It was to follow Tanxiu to cultivate and become a legendary immortal. Mr. Tang. After Moe left the dining room, Wang Wei hurriedly ran in from the outside and came to Tanxiu's side. He handed over a bank card and respectfully said, Mr. Tang, it's all our fault. We're young and impetuous, so please don't stoop to our level. There's 240 million yuan in this card. Consider it as compensation for offending you. Please don't think it's too little. I only have this much money in total. Who wants your money? Tanxiu frowned. Wang Wei subconsciously glanced at Spectre and then said, I know you like money, Mr. Tang, so consider the money in this card as my apology to you. I promise I won't make the same mistake again in the future. I won't be arrogant and domineering just because I have some money from my family. Tanxiu could tell the purpose of Wang Wei's sending the money from the change in his expression. He was sure that Spectre was definitely involved in it. However, it would be foolish not to accept the money that was given to him. After receiving the bank card, he casually threw it to Ouyang Lulu and said, Take it. If the Paradise Manor needs any construction, just directly communicate with the people from the engineering department. Spending money is not a big deal, as the main thing is to do it well. Ouyang Lulu happily took the bank card and said, 240 million yuan is not a small amount. But it's still a lot less for our entire project investment. The other guy will also send 240 million yuan, said Spectre. After sending Wang Wei away, Tanxiu looked at Spectre and said, Why do you want to do this? You're not short of money, are you? I'm not short of money indeed, said Spectre with a chuckle. But it's not right for me to refuse money that's delivered to my door. In any case, I don't want the compensation from the other party. You can deal with it as you see fit. Tanxiu let out a faint smile and took out a jade bottle. He flicked his finger to Spectre and said with a light smile, The thing inside will be very beneficial to you. Since your state of mind has been improved, you should seize the time to improve it. Yes, yes, yes. Wang Wei repeatedly replied and then left cautiously. It didn't take long before Yang Yang also sent a bank card. This time, he no longer glanced at Ouyang Lulu and instead peeked at Spectre more. You really gave up? Tanxiu looked at him and asked with a faint smile. Boss Tang, we were indeed frogs at the bottom of the well before. We didn't know you were so powerful, said Yang Yang bitterly. Since Ouyang Lulu is your woman, I naturally don't dare to have any improper thoughts. I've given you the money, so I hope you can be magnanimous and don't make things difficult for me in the future. You really won't shed a tear until you see the coffin, huh? Tanxiu said with a smile. Now you've suffered a double loss. You're Yang Yang, right? Don't become stupid from practicing martial arts later. Learn more about the ways of the world, and put away your flamboyant character as soon as possible. Else, even if I spare you today, I don't know what kind of powerful characters you'll provoke in the future. At that time, maybe the other party won't be as easy to talk to as me. Yes, 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 said Yang Yang hurriedly. I'll definitely correct it. Tan Xiao didn't want to talk to him anymore. After throwing the bank card to Ouyang Lulu, he said, "You can go now. This matter ends here. I hope you'll keep your mouth shut about some things, else you won't have a good end." She gritted her teeth and continued to persevere. A few minutes later, when she felt that she really couldn't take it anymore, and that her body would break if she persisted any longer, she stood up from the warm water with difficulty and stepped out of the bathtub. Outside the bathroom, young Pingqiao paced back and forth anxiously. If it weren't for his future mother-in-law in the bathroom, he would have gone in to check on Yuli. Tan Xiao had said that soaking in warm water with that kind of medicine would be very painful. He was afraid that something might happen to Yuli. Originally, he trusted Tan Xiao very much, but he couldn't accept Tan Xiao's treatment method. Just a drop of that medicine could cure leukemia? It was like a joke to him. At this time, he was thinking about a lot of things outside the bathroom. He even thought that if Tan Xiao's treatment method didn't work, he would take his future mother-in-law abroad to the top hospitals abroad for treatment. In his view, although Cui Yanru was Yuli's mother, he also regarded her as his own mother. He could feel the warmth of a family member and an elder from Cui Yanru after getting along with her for these days. Creak. The bathroom door was opened and Yuli appeared in front of Yang Pingqiao. Behind her was a neatly dressed Cui Yanru. "Yuli, you." Yang Pingqiao simply couldn't believe his eyes. At this moment, Yuli seemed to have been reborn. Her whole body was like a lotus flower coming out of the water, exuding a gorgeous brilliance. Her skin seemed to be whiter than before, looking smoother and more lustrous. "What's wrong?" asked Yuli in surprise. "Why are you looking at me with this expression? Is there something wrong with my face?" Yang Pengqiao sobered up from his daze and murmured, "You seem to have become more beautiful, Yuli. Your skin is also much better than before." "Really?" With a shy smile, Yuli walked out of the bathroom door and walked to the front of the mirror in the room. Yang Pengqiao was about to follow her, but his eyes still swept over Cui Yanru. It was just a casual glance, but it made his body shake and a look of disbelief appeared in his eyes again. At this moment he was really shocked. Before entering the bathroom, Cui Yanru looked dispirited and pale. Her skin didn't seem to have any luster, and she looked a bit old due to her age. But, at this moment, however, Cui Yanru seemed to be more than 10 years younger. Her skin was also lustrous and white, and she looked full of spirit. She didn't look like a leukemia patient at all. "Ah!" Standing in front of the mirror, Yuli exclaimed and covered her mouth, looking at herself in the mirror in astonishment. She had never dreamed that she would become so beautiful. She never dreamed that she would have such an amazing change, especially her skin. It was like a baby's skin. How is this possible? Yuli's heartbeat sped up. The pleasant surprise made her dumbfounded. "Haven't you noticed Auntie's appearance, Yuli?" asked Yang Pingqiao quickly. "She seems to have become more than 10 years younger all of a sudden. Besides, Auntie doesn't look like a sick person to me." Yuli turned her head. Only now did she realize that her mother had indeed become different from before. Suddenly, she recalled Tan Xiao's words. She immediately looked at Yang Pengqiao and said, "Do you think that drop of medicine can really cure my mom's leukemia?" Yang Pengqiao thought for a moment and quickly said, "There's still some time before the 2 hours are up. How about we go to the hospital to have a checkup first?" Yuli was moved, but she recalled that there was not much time left before the 2 hours were up, so she gently shook her head and said, "I believe in divine Dr. Tang Pengqiao. He said he can cure my mom's leukemia, so she'll definitely be cured. You can also see that we've soaked in the medicinal bath, and even our appearance has become much better than before. Let's wait for him to come, and then we'll talk about going to the hospital for a checkup." "Pengqiao, I think Lily is right. Haste makes waste," said Cui Yanru. "Although I feel like I'm full of strength now and feel better than when I wasn't sick, I still need to persevere. However, we're not in a hurry. Let's wait for divine Dr. Tang to come and ask him about the effect first." "All right." Yang Pingqiao's confidence in Tan Xiao rose and he nodded in agreement. Half an hour later, Tan Xiao returned to the Western-style building with Ouyang Lulu. Upon seeing the changes in Cui Yenru and Yuli's appearance, he immediately said with a smile, "The external effect is good, but I don't know how the treatment effect is. Miss Cui, I'll check your pulse first and check your body's condition." All right. Cui Yenru hurriedly replied. After taking a seat, Tanxiu examined Cui Yenru and found that the diseased white blood cells in her body had been completely eliminated. He immediately praised the effect of the body refining medicine. It was indeed a good treatment for patients. "How is it, Divine Dr. Tang?" Cui Yenru saw Tanxiu retract his hand and hurriedly asked. "The effect is good. The harmful white blood cells in your body have been eliminated," Tanxiu said with a smile. "But if you're still worried, you can go to a large hospital to have a checkup. If you've recovered, you don't need to come back and just leave directly. Of course, if you still want to stay in Shanghai, you can come back here and stay for a few days." After saying that, he then looked at Yang Pingchao and lightly smiled. "Don't forget your promise to me. After you've settled the mother and daughter, remember to go to Star City to find the magnificent Tang Corporation's general manager, Kong Xia. She'll arrange a job for you." "Tang, boss, can I take them to Star City?" asked Yang Pingchao. "If I'm going to work in Star City later, I hope they can also work there so that I can take care of them." "That's great," Tanxiu said with a smile. "You're a special employee of mine, so I should have assigned you a house in Star City. But you're a rich man now, so I won't give you a house. Go buy it yourself." Yang Pengchao grinned and said, "Boss, you've given me so much money that it's enough to buy 100 houses. Then, how about I take Auntie to the hospital to have a checkup first?" "Go." Tanxiu let out a faint smile. As Yang Pingchao's group of 3 left, Ouyang Lulu stood at the window and asked, "Dear, what are you going to do next? It's summer vacation now, and your school has already closed. Can you take a vacation?" "Even if the school is not closed, I haven't had a good class either." Tanxiu forced a smile. "As for the vacation, it has nothing to do with me. Next, I need to go to Tea Country. There's something I need to deal with there." Ouyang Lulu's expression moved and asked, "Is it about the zodiac jade carvings? I heard there's news about the jade pig." Tanxiu didn't tell her about Zhang Xinya. In any case, he was going to Tea Country this time, so he could also solve the jade pig issue. Therefore he said, "That's right. I've got half of the zodiac jade carvings, so I need to find all of them as soon as possible." "Do you want me to go with you?" asked Ouyang Lulu. "You can go with me if the Paradise Manor hasn't been expanded," said Tanxiu with a smile. "But you have something to do now, so forget it. Don't worry, I'll be back soon." "How about stopping the project first?" asked Ouyang Lulu. "I want to go out with you. You haven't taken me out to play since we got together." Chapter 909. Tanxiu gave it a thought and felt that Ouyang Lulu was right. He really hadn't taken her out to play since they had sex. So he said with a smile, "Let's wait for a while. I'll spare some time to accompany you after I'm done with my work. How about it?" "All right." Ouyang Lulu looked pleasantly surprised. Tanxiu released his spiritual sense and found that Spectre was in the courtyard downstairs. He immediately said, "I'm going to leave as soon as possible, Lulu. Help me and Spectre book the tickets." "Are you going to book the tickets directly to Tea Country?" asked Ouyang Lulu. "Which city are you going to?" "We're going to Jingmen Island first to solve some things there," said Tanxiu. "Then we'll talk about going to Tea Country. Why are you going to Jingmen Island?" asked Ouyang Lulu confused. "I encountered something in Chang City a few days ago. Some of my friends are in danger, so I sent some people to send them to Jingmen Island. This time, I'm going there to see them." Ouyang Lulu suddenly understood and said with a worried expression, "I know you're a man who does great things, Tanxiu. The environment you're in is very dangerous. I also know that you're very powerful, but you must pay attention to your safety at all times." Tanxiu gently hugged her and smilingly said, "Don't worry. I'll pay attention to my safety." In the evening, Tanxiu and Spectre arrived at Jingmen Island. He didn't inform the Everlasting Feast Hall's people in advance, but hailed a taxi and quickly arrived at the Everlasting Feast Hall's headquarters. Boss, if I had a choice, I'd rather never set foot here for the rest of my life, sighed Spectre as he looked at the scenery outside through the window. A faint smile outlined on the corner of Tan Xiu's mouth. I never thought that there's still a place in this world that can make you, Spectre, feel fear. It's good to be in awe. Don't tease me, boss, Spectre said with a sullen face. How about I get off and you go in by yourself? Just call me when you're about to leave. Tan Xiu laughed involuntarily and said, I'm curious. What did you encounter here? Why are you so afraid? Spectre raised his hand to touch the bridge of his nose and said with a hollow smile, I'm just afraid that you, your disciple. I don't want to be locked up in a formation again and temper myself for 13 years. Now I don't even know if I'm 32 or 45. What did you say? Tan Xiu blinked, and a bright light burst out from his eyes. Ghost said, I said I'm afraid of your powerful disciple. What happened? Tan Xiu shook his head and said, It's not that. It's 13 years. What's going on? Could it be the time formation? That's right. Spectre nodded and said, It's the time grand array. The time acceleration inside is 1/365 compared to the outside. That is to say, 1 day outside is equivalent to 1 year inside. Think about it. A person can live alone for a day, 10 days, or even 100 days. But it's been 13 years, 4,745 days. It's already a miracle that I haven't gone crazy from the torture. Tan Xiu suddenly recalled that Gu Yan once learned a secret technique about the mysteries of time from Shade Demon Zhu Wuxia's disciple. Others might not be able to arrange such a time acceleration array, but Gu Yan could. What did he need the most now? It was time. Soon. The taxi was parked in the parking lot of the manor, and Gu Yan, who had received the news in advance, was already waiting in the parking lot. The moment Tan Xiu got off the car, he asked in a deep voice, Where's Yan? She's in the alchemy room. Master said that she's going to refine a pill for Miss Xue to take. Tan Xiu furrowed his brows and rushed to the alchemy room as fast as he could. He could feel the scorching heat sweeping over, while Gu Yan was standing next to the alchemy furnace, constantly throwing medicinal herbs into it. Ji Qimei stood at the side, quietly reading a book about medicinal herbs. Lord! Upon seeing Tan Xiu's arrival, Ji Qimei hurriedly got up and respectfully called out. Tan Xiu raised his hand to stop Ji Qimei's words. He could see that Gu Yan's alchemy had reached a critical juncture, so he didn't want to disturb her. Half an hour later, when the lid of the alchemy furnace flew up, a rich medicinal fragrance filled the air. Gu Yan reached out and grasped the void. Suddenly, a sparkling and translucent pill exuding a soft golden light appeared in her hand. She then cast a seal to seal the pill, and put it into a jade bottle she had prepared in advance. Why are you here, master? Gu Yan looked a bit surprised as she greeted and asked. I'm here to see the situation. There's something important I need to ask you, said Tan Xiu. Please ask, master, said Gu Yan. I heard from Spectre that you locked him in the chrono array. Only then did I remember that you once learned a secret art related to the mystery of time from Shade Demon Zhu Wuxia's disciple, said Tan Xiu. So you can arrange a chrono array? And you can also let people cultivate inside it? Yeah. Gu Yan nodded. What about it? Tan Xiu happily said. If that's the case, then go to Clam Island yourself. If the children we're training can cultivate inside the chrono array, it'll be of great help to their growth. I'm sure they can grow up quickly. Ah, it turns out to be this matter, Gu Yan said with a smile. No problem, I'll go right away. But what? Asked Tan Xiu. The chrono array I arranged can only play a role in tempering the mind, said Gu Yan. There's no way for the cultivators to improve their cultivation inside, unless they can get the chrono crystal and the true self-heart. These two supreme treasures can help me form a special time and space when I arrange the array. Only in this special space can cultivators truly cultivate and live. You've already used the chrono crystal, so we don't have it now. Tan Xiu furrowed his brows. The true self-heart is the Tao heart comprehended by the golden immortal stage powerhouses of the heart-seeking sect in the immortal world, after crossing the 49 heavenly tribulations and distinguishing the truth from the false. Furthermore, They need to die to obtain the true self-heart. I can find a way to get it in the immortal world, even if it's very difficult. But this is Earth, and there's no way to get the true self-heart. That's why I can only arrange the chrono-illusion array, said Guyen. The only use of it is to temper their mind. It can make their state of mind advance by leaps and bounds, even surpassing the limit of their age. Tan Xiu thought for a moment and said, it's good enough that it can temper and improve their state of mind. However, you don't have to rush to Clam Island immediately. You should recuperate first and make sure that you're fine. Then you can go back quickly. All right, I'll listen to you. A bright smile appeared on Guyen'er's face. She could hear the care and concern in Tan Xiu's words, which warmed her heart and filled her with happiness. That's right. I've sent someone to bring those people from Chang City here. Where are they now? Asked Tan Xiu. Those people from Chang City? Asked Guyen'er, puzzled. I don't know. Gu Xiaoxua hurriedly said. It was me who arranged them, Grand Master. I didn't tell Master about this trivial matter. They're in the Everlasting Feast Hall now. I'll call them immediately if you want to see them. No need to call them. Tan Xiu waved his hand and said, just take me there directly. I'll go to country tea after I see them. Shortly after, Tan Xiu left with Gu Xiaoxua, while Guyen'er took the refined medicinal pill and went to find Shuiyu. Tan Xiu didn't ask about the medicinal pill, nor did Guyen'er take the initiative to mention it. In the guest room of the restaurant, Tan Xiu saw Song Donglai and Ao Wei. Upon seeing their respectful expressions, Tan Xiu waved his hand and motioned them to sit down. Then he said, I've destroyed the Lien family and killed all of them with martial strength, leaving only the old, the weak, the young, and the disabled. You don't need to hide here anymore. Let's have a chat and then you can leave. Song Donglai and Ao Wei exchanged glances. Just as they sat on the sofa, they immediately got up and cupped their fists toward Tan Xiu, saying, Senior Tang, we want to cultivate with you. That's right. Please accept us, Mr. Tang. Tan Xiu looked at them in surprise. After a long time, he shook his head and said, You're different from Han's senator. He would have been a dead man if I hadn't saved him. But you have family and friends, as well as emotional entanglements that can't be cut off from the secular world. Therefore you two are not suitable to cultivate with me. Song Donglai and Ao Wei looked disappointed, but Song Donglai didn't give up and seriously said, Senior Tang, please accept us as your in-name disciples. We may look older than you, but the one who succeeds in cultivation is the master. I hope you don't despise us. We're sincere. The path I'm taking is completely different from yours. Tan Xiu shook his head. If I accept you as my in-name disciples, it'll be tantamount to creating a karmic relationship with me. I don't want my cultivation to be affected because of you. So you don't need to mention this matter again. Having said that, he hesitated for a moment before an idea came to his mind and he immediately said, However, I can give you some opportunities since I'm your guide on the path of cultivation. If you want to go further on the path of cultivation, I can provide you with some cultivation resources. However, I won't give you these cultivation resources for free. You'll need to spend money to buy them. What cultivation resources? Asked Song Donglai hurriedly. For example, medicinal pills, answered Tan Xiu. Song Donglai's eyes widened and he asked in shock, You can refine medicinal pills? That's right. Tan Xiu nodded and said, I can refine medicinal pills, but it's very difficult to do so, and I can only refine a few each time. Therefore, the price will be very high. You'll have to spend money to buy them if you need them, and you'll have to prepare a large sum of money. We're willing to buy them, but how much will the price be? Song Donglai hurriedly said. What kind of medicinal pills are they? You can ask Xiaoxua about this. Tan Xiu said with a smile. She's the current manager of the Everlasting Feast Hall, and also my grand disciple. You can contact her directly when you want to buy medicinal pills. Chapter 9:10. The heat wave swept away the fishy smell of the sea, drifting along with the sound of the raging waves hitting the shore. A black Mercedes-Benz SUV was like a runaway wild horse, roaring and sprinting on the coastal road with the roar of the engine. However, As the 4 black Land Rover SUVs gradually caught up from behind, Tan Xiao and the black Mercedes-Benz SUV looked confused. Do you want me to deal with those cars, boss? Ghost sat in the front passenger seat with his legs crossed. Ever since he came out of the time matrix, he seemed to have changed into a different person. He was very jumpy and very belligerent. It was as if he had become a particularly impulsive hooligan. Tan Xiao glanced at him and indifferently said, "If you think you have plenty of time, find a woman to fall in love with. I think you have too much anger inside and need to vent it out." Ugh! Spectre's frivolous expression instantly froze. He looked at Tan Xiao with a hollow smile, and directly turned his head to look out the window. Inwardly he snorted and muttered, "Who said I didn't find one? 3 days ago, I talked about life and ideals with 6 beauties, and then rolled the sheets." In the driver's seat, Gu Tao gripped the steering wheel with eyes gleaming. As the car sped up, a few minutes later he turned his head and reported, "Boss, there are 4 cars in front of us. They are the same type of cars that are chasing us." "Stop the car," said Tan Xiao. Gu Tao nodded and slowed down the car to stop the car on the roadside. Zhang Ju, who was sitting next to Tan Xiao, quickly got off the car and went to the other side. After opening the door for Tan Xiao, he said in a low voice, "Boss, there are 8 cars and 16 people. Judging from their appearance, they should be martial arts practitioners." Tan Xiao got off the car. After lighting a cigarette, he looked at the 16 people coming from the front and the back. His eyes finally fell on the leader of the 8 people in front. Mr. Tang. The person who came was a gentleman, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, holding a briefcase in his hand, and wearing a designer suit that fit him very well. The way he looked at Tan Xiao was also very respectful. Tan Xiao sized him up a few times before looking at the turbulent sea and indifferently said, "Are you looking for trouble by blocking me on the coastal road with such fanfare? Or did he come to ask for help? Let me say this first, if you want to cause trouble, then come at me. If you want help, then get the hell out of here. I don't have time." The refined middle-aged man chuckled and said, "We're not looking for trouble or help, Mr. Tang. It's my wife who wants to see you." "I'm busy." Tan Xiao was in a hurry to go to country tea. How could he have the leisure to see Madam? The middle-aged man's expression turned stiff and he immediately let out a dry smile. "Mr. Tang, I'm Sunbo, the general manager's assistant of the Ouyang Group. My madam is just a few kilometers away by the seaside. We naturally won't dare to stop you if you don't want to see her. I'll immediately go back and report to her." "Ouyang Group? Madam?" With a strange expression, Tan Xiao asked, "Who is she to Ouyang Lulu?" The middle-aged man smiled and said, "She is the eldest Mrs. Mother." Fuck. Tan Xiao cursed inwardly. If it were someone else, he would absolutely be disinclined to pay attention to them. But this madam was Ouyang Lulu's mother, his cheap mother-in-law. Even if he was more powerful, he couldn't not give her face. After stuffing out the cigarette butt, Tan Xiao forced a smile and said, "You should have told me who she is earlier. Would I have dared to say I don't want to see her? But tell me in advance, why is she looking for me?" "I'm just an errand boy, Mr. Tang. How would I know this kind of thing? You're the future son-in-law of our Ouyang family. If I knew, I would have told you in advance." Cough cough. Tan Xiao coughed a few times and waved his hand. "Get in the car and lead the way." A few minutes later, the convoy stopped on the coastal road a few kilometers away. After Tan Xiao got off the car, he saw a woman in a plain white dress standing on the beach not far away. It was impossible to tell her age from her back. But she stood there with her arms folded, as if she was integrated with the world in front of her, looking very harmonious. "She's an expert." Tan Xiao secretly praised her inside. He came behind her alone and said, "You want to see me?" Mu Qinxin gently turned around and appeared in front of Tan Xiao. A graceful and elegant face with a smiling expression appeared on the corner of her mouth. Her appearance was somewhat similar to Ouyang Lulu, but a lot more mature. As the bell on her wrist rang, a somewhat magnetic voice said, "Nice to meet you, Tan Xiao." "It's my first time meeting you, Auntie. You're really younger than I imagined," said Tan Xiao with a smile. Mu Qinxin smiled and suddenly raised her arm to point at the sea, asking, "What do you think about it?" Tan Xiu stared blankly. He really couldn't figure out what kind of medicine Mu Qinshin was selling in her gourd. She inexplicably looked for him, and even talked about an irrelevant topic. However, he still said, "The sea contains hundreds of rivers and is vast and boundless. It's full of auspiciousness and crisis. It contains infinite treasures, and also has endless killing traps." "What else?" asked Mu Qinshin with a faint smile. "What else?" Tan Xiu really couldn't figure out what she was thinking about. He thought for a moment and asked, "Which aspect do you mean, Auntie?" Mu Qinshin smiled and said, "What is it in your eyes? Is it big or not?" Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "Water is the foundation of man, and the sea is the container of water. Be it this sea in front of you or all the oceans on earth, they are all pitifully small in my eyes." "Pitifully small?" asked Mu Qinshin. "Can you conquer it?" Mu Qinshin asked. "Time. I need time," said Tan Xiu proudly. "Give me some time. Let alone this sea in front of me. Even the entire earth is just a drop in the ocean in my eyes." Mu Qinshin nodded and said, "If I want the entire earth to be just a drop in the ocean in my eyes, what do you think I can do?" "Ugh." Tan Xiu instantly understood and looked at the smiling Mu Qinshin in front of him. He forced a smile and took out an ancient cultivation manual from his interspatial ring as well as 2 jade bottles, saying, "Auntie, you can break the shackles of the heavenly Tao and ascend to the immortal world if you can cultivate the cultivation technique in this ancient manual. These 2 bottles contain 20 essence amassing pills, which I've spent a lot of effort to concoct. Please don't think it's too little." Mu Qinshin's eyes lit up, and she looked at Tan Xiu with praise. She then softly said, "Lulu, you really have a good eye. I, Mu Qinshin, have a good daughter. I never thought that I'd need to rely on her light one day. Tan Xiu, children and grandchildren have their own blessings. I need your promise." Tan Xiu was silent for a moment and then said, "I'll take care of her for 10,000 years if she doesn't betray me." "You've passed my test," said Mu Qinshin with satisfaction. "But I still need to ask something from you. If you can give it to me, you'll be the son-in-law of the Ouyang's from now on." "What is it?" asked Tan Xiu. "Any one of the zodiac jade carvings," said Mu Qinshin. Tan Xiu's expression changed and he replied without hesitation, "There are a total of 12 zodiac jade carvings. It won't be of much use to me even if I have 1 or even 11 of them. Only by collecting a complete set of the zodiac jade carvings will it be of great use to me in the future. Auntie Mu, the zodiac jade carvings are too important to me. They're thousands of times more important than the cultivation technique and pills I gave you. I'm sorry." Mu Qinshin shot a deep look at Tan Xiu and slowly opened the bag on her shoulder. She then took out a red and lifelike jade dog and handed it to Tan Xiu with a smile. "I'm afraid our Ouyang's can't be compared with you in terms of wealth. I'm sure you won't be interested in Lulu's dowry. So I'll use this jade dog to replace Lulu's dowry. What do you think?" "Jade dog?" A look of ecstasy flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes. After receiving it, he inspected it and confirmed that it was one of the 12 zodiac jade carvings. He looked up at Mu Qinshin's faint smile and seriously said, "Thank you, Auntie. That's enough. I've given Lulu's dowry to you, but I need to ask for something that I haven't found yet," said Mu Qinshin with a smile. "Lulu's father likes antiques and cultural relics. If you have something suitable, can you show your sincerity?" Tan Xiu gave it a thought and gently spread out his hand. The huge golden dragon's head instantly appeared in his hand. Even though the golden dragon's head was very heavy, it didn't put any pressure on him at all. He then asked, "What do you think of this golden dragon's head, Auntie?" This, Mu Qinshin was scared. She had heard about the origin of this golden dragon's head and knew that it was a national treasure. This golden dragon's head had caused a lot of bloodshed in the past. Suddenly, she didn't dare to accept it. Tan Xiu looked at Mu Qinshin's expression and thought that she wasn't satisfied with it, so he immediately said, "If Uncle isn't satisfied with it, I'll..." Mu Qinshin hurriedly raised her hand to interrupt Tan Xiu and forced a smile. "That's enough. I just hesitated because I felt that this thing is too precious and too hot." Tan Xiu smiled and said, "This golden dragon's head is indeed very precious, but it's worthless compared to Lulu's. Since I'm going to give this golden dragon's head to Uncle, I believe no one will dare to cause trouble for the Oyangs because of it. Besides, you've already obtained a cultivation manual, so the Oyangs' strength will only skyrocket in the future and won't be defeated. Mu Qinxin thought about it and felt that what Tan Xiao said was very reasonable. This golden dragon's head was indeed precious, but it was far from being comparable to the cultivation manual. She even dared to accept a cultivation manual, let alone this golden dragon's head? Put it down, Tan Xiao. After putting down the golden dragon's head, Tan Xiao was about to speak, but Mu Qinxin took out something and handed it to Tan Xiao, saying, "This is a map fragment. Legend has it that it's a treasure map to a hidden treasure trove, but I'm not sure whether it's true or not. I'll be in seclusion for some time after returning to the clan today, and I don't want to look for treasures anymore. Hence, I'll give it to you. You can look for it later if you're interested." Treasure map? Incomplete map? Tan Xiao looked at the many patterns on the sheepskin scroll, and his expression suddenly moved. He faintly felt that the terrain marked on this sheepskin scroll was somewhat familiar. Chapter 9:11. The scorching hot summer sun didn't bring the slightest discomfort to Tan Xiao. On the contrary, he felt comfortable all over his body along with the sea breeze. He felt particularly satisfied even if he had to give away an ancient cultivation manual, 2 bottles of elixirs, and a golden dragon head. The jade dog. He had obtained the jade ox, tiger, dragon, rabbit, monkey, rooster, and dog. Adding the jade dog in his hand, he now had a total of 7 zodiac jade carvings. Additionally, he also knew the whereabouts of the jade pig, which was in the hands of Singluan's eldest brother, Singguo of the Dark Shaman clan. Furthermore, Miao Wentong seemed to have news about another zodiac jade carving. "It's almost time, boss." Zhang Ju strode forward and respectfully reported. Tan Xiao nodded slightly. After putting the jade dog into his interspatial ring, he looked at the direction where Mu Qinxin left and said with a faint smile, "The Oyangs are a bit interesting, but my cheap mother-in-law is even more interesting. She's not a cultivator, yet she can achieve the unity of heaven and man, and become an expert at the peak of the qi refining stage. She can be regarded as a top powerhouse in the ancient martial arts world. No wonder the Oyangs can become the biggest family in Jingmen Island." "I know a lot about the Oyangs," said Zhang Ju. "The patriarch's wife is the most special one among all the members of the Oyangs. She's very mysterious and has always been elusive. The Oyangs have encountered several crises in the past, and she was the one who finally solved them." Tan Xiao looked at Zhang Ju and asked with a smile, "What's her origin?" "I don't know. I can't find out," answered Zhang Ju. Tan Xiao raised his brows and said, "You can't find out? That's interesting. I'll draw a painting for you when we arrive in Tea Country. You can send it to Xiaoxue through your mobile phone and let her check the pattern on it." "What painting?" asked Zhang Ju. "Haven't you noticed the ancient jade pendant on my cheap mother-in-law's waist?" Tan Xiao said. "People who wear this kind of jade pendant usually use it to show their identity." Suddenly, Tan Xiao recalled an incident and immediately took out his mobile phone to dial Shueyu's cell number. After the call was connected, he asked, "How much do you know about the origin of Mu Qinxin, the wife of the Ouyang clan in Jingmen Island?" "A lot," Shueyu said softly. Tan Xiao said, "Tell me, what's her background?" "Mu Qinxin is a member of a reclusive family," said Shueyu. "The members of her family hardly move around in the secular world. Even with the rapid development of society, they don't know how to use many modern daily necessities. Just like the ancient people, they lived in isolation from the rest of the world. What they pursued was a carefree and unfettered feeling. However, Mu Qinxin was different from her family. I once followed my ancestor to visit the Mu family, a hidden aristocratic family. That's how I know about these things." Tan Xiao asked, "Where is this hidden family?" "In the mountains of Yin province," answered Shueyu. "This family is not simple." Tan Xiao nodded and said, "Just one of their clansmen is able to reach the late stage of qi refining. Presumably, the elders of this family have even more profound strength. The most important thing is that they are not cultivators. nor are they martial artists. Instead, they seem to have taken another path. What they cultivate is their heart, said Shuiyu. Ah, so you know about it. Tanxiu said with a smile. All right, I'm calling you about this. I'm going to tea country soon. I'll look for you when I come back. All right. Be careful. Shuiyu knew that some dangerous things would happen every time Tanxiu went out, so she couldn't help but warn him. Don't worry, Tanxiu said with a smile. No one in this world who can kill me has been born yet, so there won't be any danger. But for you, the sudden increase in your cultivation is not all good for you. You must stabilize your realm and master that power as soon as possible. All right. At 12 p.m., Tanxiu took Spectre, Zhang Ju, and Gu Tao to tea country's capital, Bangkok. Bangkok was the largest city in tea country, also known as the City of Angels. It was also the second largest city in Southeast Asia, and was the center of tea country's politics, economy, trade, transportation, culture, science, education, religion, and other aspects. However, Bangkok was also the center of precious metals and gems trading, accounting for 44% of tea country's total economic output. Further, the tourism industry here was also very developed, and it was voted as the most popular tourist city in the world some years ago. Hence, there were a lot of foreign tourists here. Boss, according to the information we just received, Miss Zhang is staying in the Amanda 5-star hotel, near the Chao Phraya River. But she's not in the hotel right now. She's filming at night on the Mekong River. Also, according to the information, Miss Zhang ran into some trouble yesterday. Her passport, wallet, and other belongings were stolen, and someone called to blackmail her. Zhang Ju followed Tanxiu out of the airport and reported in a low voice. Tanxiu squinted his eyes and lightly said, Let's go straight to the place where she's filming. The Chao Phraya River seems to be quite famous. I heard about it when I was in China. Boss, the Chao Phraya River is also known as the Chao Phraya River. It's the longest river with the largest volume of water in tea country, said Zhang Ju. It's also known as the mother of rivers in tea country, and is also known as the Venice of the East. The water transportation there is very convenient, so we can get a car first and then directly go to the nearby area. After that, we can take the Chao Phraya Express to the place where Miss Zhang is filming. You've been to this place before, so you can arrange the itinerary here. Tanxiu nodded. Understood, replied Zhang Ju respectfully. It was Spectre who volunteered to get the car. Soon he drove a shabby jeep and appeared in front of Tanxiu's group. As he jumped out of the driver's seat, he grinned and said, This car is very good, boss. The performance is very good, and it's very fun to race. Tanxiu didn't ask how Spectre got the car. After sitting in the back seat, he lightly said, I'm not interested in being a driver, nor do I like racing. If you like it, then you can drive it. Spectre looked at Tanxiu's indifferent expression, and immediately let out a hollow laugh. He gave up the idea of being a driver and obediently walked to the co-pilot seat, saying, There are many fun places on the Chao Phraya River, boss, and the profusion of fallen petals is a good place worth visiting. But what kind of place is the profusion of fallen petals? Asked Tanxiu. Zhang Ju, who was sitting next to Tanxiu, explained in a low voice, The profusion of fallen petals is a large luxury liner. Only the guests who have a pass for this liner can go there to play. This luxury liner is the territory of Bangkok's underworld emperor, Kanaja, and it's also his main tool to amass wealth. There are only things you can't think of on the profusion of fallen petals. And there's almost nothing it doesn't have. As long as you have money, you can have women if you want, power if you want. If you want to kill someone, someone will hand you a knife and bring you a living person. Does this Kanaja have a lot of power? Asked Tanxiu with a frown. He eats both the underworld and the underworld, and his power is monstrous, answered Zhang Ju. Who's more powerful, him or the Dark Shaman clan? Asked Tanxiu. Zhang Ju hesitated for a moment and forced a smile. I don't know about that. However, the Dark Shaman clan rarely has contact with the outside world, and their tribesmen rarely mix in society or play politics. It's hard to compare them. Let's go. Tanxiu nodded. Let's go straight to Zhang Xinya's shooting location. My main purpose in coming to tea country this time is to get the jade pig in the hands of the Dark Shaman clan's young master, Singluan. I don't want to complicate matters. At night, the scenery of the Chao Phraya River was completely different from the daytime scenery. Sightseeing cruises were shuttling on the river, with colorful lights decorating the place like a dream. Even though it was already late at night, the place was still bustling as if it was a place that never sleeps. Tan Xiu's group of 4 was riding a Chao Phraya clipper. The simple and crude boat faced the hot wind and quickly approached a small port. As they anchored and docked at the shore, the 4 of them got off the boat and crossed a riverside street to an exotic building complex. Ring ring, ring. Zhangju's cell phone rang. After a short exchange, he hung up the phone and came to Tan Xiu's front and said, "Boss, Miss Zhang seems to have encountered a bit of trouble, but it's just a small one. Her bodyguard has solved it. However, I just got the news that the other party's background is a bit problematic. If it's not dealt with in time, perhaps Miss Zhang's shooting will not go smoothly." "What is it?" asked Tan Xiu. "Someone wanted to invite Miss Zhang to have a late-night snack, but she refused," said Zhangju. "The other party provoked her and got beaten by her bodyguard." Ring ring ring. At this moment, Tan Xiu's cell phone suddenly rang. He took it out and looked at the screen before answering the call. "Cousin, are you looking for me about Zhang Xinya?" "That's right. I heard that you went to Tea Country. She happened to have encountered some trouble there. Can you go there if it's convenient?" said Chui. "One of the purposes of my coming here is to see her," said Tan Xiu. "Also, I want to tell you something. Don't arrange any work for her in the near future. If you have already arranged it, just cancel it. She has a mental problem, and it will be very troublesome if she continues like this." "I heard that she has become a workaholic recently," said Chu Yi with a forced smile. "Since you're friends with her, I'll leave this matter to you. I'll suspend all her work." "All right," Tan Xiu replied. After hanging up the phone, he looked at Zhangju and said, "Have you asked about the specific location? Lead the way." Zhangju replied and led Tan Xiu on foot for a few minutes. They then saw Zhang Xinya's figure in the distance on the bank of the Chao Phraya River. At this moment, she was sitting quietly on a chair, reading the documents in her hands. For bodyguards, 2 men and 2 women were vigilantly watching the surroundings. Chapter 9:12. Zhang Xinya was in a terrible mood, be it day or night, in front of others or behind others. The emotional pain made her feel that she couldn't even breathe. Perhaps, only when she devoted all her energy to work would she be able to temporarily forget this pain. Bangkok was very beautiful, but the night view of the Chao Phraya River was even more beautiful. The colorful lights, the liners, and the colorful buildings on both sides of the river were as beautiful as a mirage. However, Zhang Xinya's gloomy mood didn't allow her to appreciate it at all. "Big sis Xinya, please listen to me. Let's not shoot the music video here. Let's go somewhere else. I have a feeling that that hooligan will come back to trouble us." With a worried expression, Zhang Xiaoyu gently squatted in front of Zhang Xinya and put her hands on her arms. Zhang Xinya raised her head and lightly said, "The company has arranged a very powerful bodyguard, so we don't need to be afraid of him even if he causes trouble for no reason. Also, haven't we already called the police? This is Bangkok and the police won't just sit and watch. Can't we be a bit more mature, young miss?" Zhang Xiaoyu forced a wry smile. "Even if this is Bangkok, it's still their turf. As the saying goes, it's easy to see the king of hell, but it's hard to deal with the little devils. Besides, a strong dragon can't suppress a local snake. We'll be caught off guard if the other party uses some underhanded tricks." Zhang Xinya was silent for a moment before she stubbornly shook her head and said, "The shooting of the music video hasn't been completed yet. We've worked hard to come here, so we can't give up halfway. Xiaoyu, you don't need to persuade me anymore." "You're really stubborn like a bull," said Zhang Xiaoyu helplessly. "Forget it. Stay here if you say so. But you must listen to me and leave with me immediately if you encounter any danger." "All right," Zhang Xinya replied with a flat tone. The face that gave her a sense of security once again appeared in her mind. There was a bit of irritation in her eyes. She couldn't read the documents in her hand anymore, so she shifted her gaze to the distance. My eyesight isn't deceiving me, is it? Zhang Xinya's expression froze and she suddenly jumped up from the chair. Her eyes were fixated on the handsome figure coming from the distance, and her heartbeat accelerated. What's wrong with you, big sis Xinya? Zhang Xiaoyu asked in surprise. She got up and turned to look behind her. Zhang Xinya suddenly closed her eyes. Her excitement was like a dancing flame that was extinguished by a basin of cold water. After shaking her head, she sat back on the chair and murmured, "If you think too much, you will always have hallucinations." Upon seeing Tan Xiao coming, Zhang Xiaoyu immediately looked pleasantly surprised. She hurriedly turned around and grabbed Zhang Xinya's arm, excitedly saying, "You're not hallucinating, sis Xinya. It's really Mr. Tang. Mr. Tang is here." Zhang Xinya opened her eyes again and looked in the direction where Tan Xiao had come from. When she saw the face that had haunted her dreams, she was finally sure that she was not hallucinating. He really came. With his hands in his trouser pockets, Tan Xiao came to Zhang Xinya with a smile and said, "Are you surprised? You didn't expect me to appear here?" Tears. The tears welled up from her eyes and slid down her white cheeks. The pleasant surprise made her unable to control herself. She dashed a few steps forward and threw herself into Tan Xiao's embrace. Her arms hugged Tan Xiao tightly. Tan Xiao thought that she had an accident here, so he was scared and didn't push her away. Instead, he gently patted her back and smilingly said, "Don't worry. I've heard what happened here. They're just some hooligans. No one can hurt you with me here. I miss you." Zhang Xinya sobbed with tears streaming down her face. Tan Xiao's body turned stiff. He could feel Zhang Xinya's slightly trembling body in his arms, and could feel her emotions coming from the bottom of her heart. It would be a lie to say that he didn't have the slightest affection for Zhang Xinya. If it were in the past, he might have directly accepted Zhang Xinya. After all, it was very difficult for him to see a woman who loved him so deeply crying in his arms. But there was Zhang Xinya. Tan Xiao wasn't a man who fell in love with every woman he met. Although he had a good impression of Zhang Xinya, there was still Zhang Xinyue's existence. He and Zhang Xinyue had sex. If he were to promise Zhang Xinya now and promise to be with her, what would happen to Zhang Xinyue? Was it possible for him to have both of them at the same time? Hugging and crying. As time passed by, Zhang Xinya finally controlled her emotions. When she raised her tearful face and looked at Tan Xiao's handsome face, she asked with a trembling voice, Why did you come here?" "I came to Tea Country for a very important matter," said Tan Xiao. "But I got a call from Chu Yi and learned that you're also in Tea Country. Furthermore, you also encountered some trouble here, so I came here directly. You've lost a lot of weight." Zhang Xinya's emotions nearly went out of control again. She looked at Tan Xiao with tearful eyes and said word by word, "I miss you. I miss you when I eat, I miss you when I do things, and I miss you even when I sleep. If I can't see you, I can't sleep well, I can't eat well, and I'm not in good spirits." Tan Xiao opened his mouth, but he didn't know what to say. Zhang Xinya raised her hand and gently pressed it on Tan Xiao's lips. She took a deep breath and said, "Don't say anything. Don't say anything. I'm already very happy to see you. I beg you, please let me be happy for a while. I'm very touched that you're worried about my safety. Just let me be touched for a while." Tan Xiao fell into silence. He could feel the panic and pleading in Zhang Xinya's eyes, and he suddenly felt sorry for this woman. He indeed had several women now. Whether it was Kang Xia, Ouyang Lulu, Shuiyu, or Mu Weining, all of them had shown deep feelings for him. But Zhang Xinya's feelings for him were no less than theirs. Instead, it was even more than theirs. Tan Xiao himself had experienced an unforgettable feeling. That was Xue Qingqing in the immortal world. He even once thought that his heart was with Xue Qingqing even though he was in the immortal world. She was the most important world to him. At this moment, Tan Xiao made a decision inwardly. He gently hugged Zhang Xinya and tenderly caressed her long and elegant hair, saying, "Come with me. I need to tell you something." Having said that, he then looked at Zhang Xiaoyu and said, "Notify me to suspend the shooting work. I'll give you 10 minutes to pack up, and then we'll leave this place." Zhang Xiaoyu was very excited. She was keenly aware that Tan Xiao actually felt sorry for her big sister Xinya. When a man felt sorry for a woman, it definitely meant that this woman was in his heart. Let's pack up and go back. Zhang Xiaoyu hurriedly called out. At this time, Spectre quietly came to Tan Xiao's side and whispered, "Some people are monitoring this place, boss. There are 2 groups of people in total, one in the 10 o'clock direction, and the other in the 4 o'clock direction. The 10 o'clock direction should be the hooligans and hooligans without any surveillance technology, but the 4 o'clock direction has some skills. They're very good at concealing themselves and are using military products." Tan Xiao slightly furrowed his brows. He instantly released his spiritual sense to cover a radius of 300 to 400 meters. He then found 2 groups of people, especially the 4 o'clock direction. 2 middle-aged men in ordinary attire and appearance were hiding behind an erected billboard, using the cracks of the billboard to observe this direction. "I'll leave the 10 o'clock people to you for interrogation. As for the 2 guys at 4 o'clock, I'll see them later," said Tan Xiao. He then pulled Zhang Xinya's hand and walked away. At the 5-star Amanda Hotel, Tan Xiao followed Zhang Xinya to the business suite where she lived. He watched her go to make tea with a flowery smile. She even took out a pack of yellow Crane Tower cigarettes from her bag and handed it to him. Tan Xiao forced a smile and said, "You don't smoke, do you? Why do you have cigarettes in your bag?" Zhang Xinya blushed and said in a low voice, "I know you smoke. I was just thinking about when I could see you and light a cigarette for you." This. Tan Xiao opened his mouth and took the cigarette. He let Zhang Xinya carefully light it for him and took a deep puff. Then he turned to the window and looked at the lights outside. With his back facing Zhang Xinya, he asked, "Do you really like me?" Zhang Xinya's delicate body trembled, but she instantly raised her chin and walked to Tan Xiao's side. Then she said without hesitation, "I don't like you. It's love. I really love you." Tan Xiao turned around and looked at her firm expression. He forced a smile and shook his head. "Actually, I'm not worthy of your love at all. I'm just a promiscuous man in the eyes of many people. I've had a lot of women, and it's hard to count them with one hand. I've been rejecting you because I can't give you a happy marriage, and I can't love you with all my heart." "I know, but I don't care," said Zhang Xinya. "There's something I don't know how to tell you." Tan Xiao forced a smile. "It's a misunderstanding, but it's also a substantial problem." "What is it?" asked Zhang Xinya confused. "It's about your younger sister, Zhang Xinyue," said Tan Xiao. "There's something between a man and a woman." "What?" Zhang Xinya's pupils contracted and her complexion instantly turned pale. She looked at Tan Xiao in disbelief. She stepped back a few steps and quickly covered her heart with her right hand. You, please don't misunderstand." Tan Xiao sighed and said, "We did have something between a man and a woman, but there's a reason for it. Do you still remember what happened in Qingqing Mountain? I sent some people to escort you back at that time, while Zhang Xinyue took your place to attend the opening ceremony of the villa complex. But something happened at that time." Tan Xiao recounted everything to Zhang Xinya and finally said, "I was poisoned, and it was a deadly poison. Unless a woman can detoxify me with her body, I'll definitely die." Chapter 913. With tears on her face, Zhang Xinya stared at Tan Xiao in a daze. She suddenly regretted letting her younger sister, Zhang Xinyue, replace her to attend the opening ceremony of the Golden Goblet Emperor Gao's villa complex. If she was the one who went there, that kind of thing wouldn't have happened between her younger sister and Tan Xiao. And then, she was eager to know what happened later, even though the final fact couldn't be changed. "I lost my mind at that time," said Tan Xiao. "I didn't know where I was or what happened to me at that time. When I woke up, only then did I know that Zhang Xinyue used her body to detoxify the poison in me and saved my life. I was grateful to her, but I didn't love her. Just when I was in a dilemma, thinking about how to shoulder this responsibility, she told me that it never happened, and that she wanted me to keep it a secret forever. Once we leave Qingqing Mountain, we'll never see each other again." The burden in Zhang Xinya's heart was suddenly lifted. She had just thought of countless reasons in her mind, but none of them made her feel better than Tan Xiu's explanation. At this moment, she suddenly felt that what her younger sister did was right. After all, she saved Tan Xiu's life. If it were her, even if she had no feelings for Tan Xiu, it would be very difficult for her to watch him die. Furthermore, Tan Xiu also saved her younger sister's life. Looking at Zhang Xinya's constantly changing expression, Tan Xiu forced a smile and said, "I've been suppressing this matter inside my heart. I originally thought that I would never mention it to anyone again in this life, but I don't want to hide it from you now. However, I don't want to hide it from you anymore. Don't blame Zhang Xinyue. If you want to blame someone, blame me. After all, she saved my life." Zhang Xinya's lips squirmed as she shook her head and said, "I don't blame her. I'm very grateful to her. She saved the man I love. I already had that kind of relationship with Zhang Xinyue. Are you still willing to love me?" Tan Xiu forced a smile. "There's no way for us to." Zhang Xinya waved her hand to interrupt Tan Xiu and loudly said, "I don't care. Let alone my younger sister. I don't care even if it's any other woman. As long as you are well. Even if all the women in the world follow you, I am willing to see it. You can say that my love is extreme. You can say that my love is stubborn, but these are my sincere words. As long as you are fine, as long as you can give me a little bit of space in your heart, even if it is just a little bit, I am willing to love you. I am willing to follow you. Why bother?" Tan Xiu sighed helplessly. Zhang Xinya said, "I didn't know how to love someone before, and I've never loved another man before. But I've decided on you. And that's you. If you don't want me, I'll die alone. If you want me, I'll love you for the rest of my life. I'll love you 10 times, 100 times, 10,000 times more than you love me." Tan Xiu walked to Zhang Xinya in a few steps. He looked at her tough expression and gently pulled her into his arms, saying softly, "I used to be a supreme in the immortal world, and I used to think that loving her was enough. However, when I returned here, I realized that my heart had changed. You can say that I'm a sentimental person, or that I changed my mind after being hurt. But since you don't dislike me, then I'll take you. Since you want to be my woman, you must be prepared to follow me for thousands of years." Zhang Xinya put her face on Tan Xiu's chest and passionately said, "Let alone thousands of years, even if the seas run dry and the rocks crumble, even if the world comes to an end, I'll never abandon you." Tan Xiu gently pushed her away, but his hands held her shoulders. He looked at her serious eyes and said in a deep voice, "From today onward, you Zhang Xinya are my Tan Xiu's woman. After tonight, you won't have the chance to regret it even if you want to." "I don't regret it, and I don't need any chance," said Zhang Xinya firmly. "You fool." Tan Xiu hugged her in his arms again, and looked at the night scene outside the window. His mood was very satisfied and affectionate. 10 minutes later, knock, knock, someone knocked on the door from the outside. Tan Xiu released Zhang Xinya, and waved to open the door. He saw Spectre carrying the 2 middle-aged men who had been monitoring Zhang Xinya, and walking in from the outside. He then said to Gu Tao and Zhang Zhu, "You two stay outside and pay attention to any suspicious people in the vicinity. Remember to inform me immediately if there are any." "Understood." The 2 men replied and turned to go out. Tan Xiu walked to the sofa and sat down, asking, "What's the result of your interrogation?" "Those gangsters are spineless. I didn't use any means to make them confess everything," said Spectre. "The one who sent them to monitor Miss Zhang is Alloway, the most famous gangster in the vicinity of the Chao Phraya River. He controls most of the entertainment venues within a radius of more than 10 kilometers, and has hundreds of thugs under his command. Additionally, he's Songzan's subordinate. Songzan has some fame in Bangkok, and is a big shot in both the underworld and the underworld." Tan Xiu furrowed his brows and looked at the 2 middle-aged men thrown in front of him by Spectre. He then lightly asked, "Those gangsters are Alloway's men, and Alloway should be the one who was dealt with by Xinya's bodyguards. What about you? Who sent you here?" The 2 middle-aged men with bruises and swollen faces exchanged glances. One of them then sneered and said, "You're a foreigner, aren't you? Your English is pretty good. Can you tell us where you're from?" "No, I can't," said Tan Xiu. "Humph," snorted the middle-aged man coldly. You don't want to tell us who you are, so why do you want us to tell you who we are? A knife suddenly appeared in Tan Xiu's hand and fiercely pierced the middle-aged man's arms. He gritted his teeth and didn't make any sound. Tan Xiu then lightly smiled and said, "You're quite stubborn, unlike those gangsters. You want to know who I am? Your lives are in my hands. If I'm in a bad mood, I can kill you at any time and throw your bodies into the Chao Phraya River." The middle-aged man glared at Tan Xiu with hatred and said, "You win. Our boss is Songzan, the big shot who controls the fate of thousands of people in Bangkok. Your men injured Alloway, so we were sent here to monitor you and wait for our boss to send someone." "So, your boss wants to stand up for his men?" asked Tan Xiu with a strange expression. "Does he want to make things difficult for us?" The middle-aged man sneered. "If Miss Zhang is willing to apologize to our boss, maybe you can leave Bangkok safely. It seems that Songzan doesn't have any good intentions either." Tan Xiu shook his head. "If that's the case, then I'll help the T country's police to clean up the tumors of society like you. Spectre, kill them and throw their bodies into the Chao Phraya River. Remember, I don't want you to kill good people, but kill the bad guys if you can. Of course, I don't like trouble." "I got it, boss," said Spectre with a grin. Tan Xiu waved his hand. As Spectre directly killed the two men and carried their bodies out, Tan Xiu then looked at Zhang Xinya and said, "I'm sorry to kill people in front of you, but some people must die, else we'll have more troubles. Also, you've chosen to follow me, so you must be prepared to kill. My path is destined to be one of slaughter." Zhang Xinya had seen Tan Xiu kill people, and he killed dozens of people at once. His means were very fierce. However, she wasn't afraid. She could feel safe as long as she could follow Tan Xiu. "I'll learn." Tan Xiu pulled her to sit next to him and said with a forced smile, "I'm an immortal cultivator, and I won't be staying on Earth for a long time in the future. You may be disgusted with killing people now, but you'll know later that some people will force you to kill them even if you don't want to. The path to immortality is a struggle for the top, and only the strong survive. The other world is thousands of times crueler than this place." "You always talk about the other world. Where is the other world?" asked Zhang Xinya with a blank expression. "Also, what exactly is immortal cultivation? Becoming an immortal? You can also understand it as becoming an immortal," said Tan Xiu. "The other world is the immortal world, a higher plane in the universe. There are some things I can't tell you for the time being, but I'll teach you immortal cultivation techniques. I'll take you to the immortal world if you want to in the future, and tell you some very important things." A smile appeared on Zhang Xinya's face as she repeatedly nodded and said, "I'll follow you no matter where you go. I'm willing to be your tail as long as you don't abandon me." Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing. "My tail is too tired. Go take a bath and have a good sleep. Put the MV shooting aside, and let the employees who followed you return to China. I'll take you to play in T country for the next few days." "All right," said Zhang Xinya, pleasantly surprised. That night, Tan Xiu hugged Zhang Xinya and fell asleep. After she fell asleep, he even secretly used his primal chaos force to nourish her body and regulate her bodily functions. The next day, the first ray of sunlight shone through the gap of the French window curtains in the early morning. Tan Xiu woke up from his sleep and looked at the vibrating mobile phone on the table. He then looked at Zhang Xinya, who was still sleeping soundly. He quietly pulled his hand out and took the phone to the living room. "It's me," said Tan Xiu softly. Spectre's voice came from the phone. "I investigated Songzan's background last night, boss. His men have also found the two corpses. Also, a lot of gangsters have appeared near the hotel we're staying at. They should be sent by Alloway and Songzan. Take Gu Tao and Zhang Ju to get 2 heads and send them to Songzan," said Tan Xiu. "Tell him to wash his neck and wait for me. I'll visit him myself 2 days later." "Don't you hate trouble the most, boss?" Spectre laughed. "Why don't you let me kill them directly?" "I don't like trouble indeed," said Tan Xiu. "But sometimes I can get some benefits when I solve the trouble. I need to see this Songzan. Maybe I can get an unexpected surprise from him." "All right, just do as I say." "Understood," Spectre replied and hung up the phone. Chapter 9:14. The hot Bangkok was filled with a thick smell of sweat. The scorching sun seemed to turn the world into a big oven that could roast the living. However, residents and tourists braved the high temperature and were still wandering in the bustling Galoa district, running around to make a living and strolling around. Shaho Club. It was the top entertainment club in the Galoa district that was full of customers all year round and had a booming business. There were many entertainment programs here, and it was a paradise for people as long as they had money. Likewise, it was also the lair of Songzan, who controlled the entire underground forces in the Galoa district. Amidst the undulating buildings, in the deepest and most inconspicuous corner, there were two low-rise houses among the lush old trees. Even the scorching sun in the sky couldn't shine on the two houses and the forest path. Boss. A stocky man with a fierce face, wearing a black suit and black sunglasses, strode through the forest and came to the courtyard in front of one of the houses. His eyes were full of respect as he looked at the big man in white sitting on the sofa in front of the pool, and called out in a deep tone. Songzan looked up and lifted the brim of his sun hat and calmly asked, "What's up?" "Someone outside wants to see you. He said he has a generous gift for you," said the big man. "He's very strong. 6 of our guards have already been seriously injured by him. Besides, I can smell blood on him." Songzan squinted his eyes and asked, "Have you found out his origin?" The big man shook his head and said, "He's a new face. It's the first time he appears in front of us." Songzan shook his head and smilingly said, "What an arrogant guy. He even dares to come to see me directly. Bring him here. I want to see who dares to make trouble in my place under the pretext of giving gifts." "Understood." The big man replied and took out his mobile phone to dial a number, saying, "Bring him here." A few minutes later, Spectre, who was dressed in black casual clothes, sunglasses and a sun hat, carried 2 black leather bags and came under the aim of the guns of more than a dozen strong men. As he walked to the sofa, he directly threw the 2 black leather bags in front of Songzan, and then sat down on the sofa next to him. Crossing his legs, he said, "To be honest, this is the first time I've walked in front of someone openly, but it feels pretty good." Glancing at Spectre, Sultan calmly said, "You're really arrogant. I hope your gift won't disappoint me. But before I look at your gift, would you like to introduce yourself, sir? I never interact with strangers, unless it's a matter of life and death." Spectre grinned and said, "I think you should see the gift I sent you first. Don't be fooled by your calm demeanor right now. I guarantee that after you look at my gift, you'll reveal an interesting expression." After a moment of silence, Sultan gestured to the burly man beside him. The strong man nodded silently and strode to the 2 black leather bags. He squatted down and opened the zipper. Suddenly, a bloody head appeared in front of him. The face of the head was familiar to him. "Boss!" The burly man's expression suddenly changed. He instantly pulled the pistol from his waist and aimed it at Spectre. At this moment, Sultan also saw the 2 heads clearly. A murderous intent emerged on his face as he turned to look at Spectre and coldly said, "These 2 are my loyal subordinates and my capable generals. You're able to kill them, so you do have some ability. But I can assure you that you won't be able to leave this courtyard if you don't give me an explanation today." "Just these 2 trash?" Spectre disdainfully said. "And they're your capable generals? It seems that the famous Songzan is also a crooked man." "That's right, to use the Chinese adjective, crooked and crooked. It seems that my understanding of Chinese culture has improved recently." He leisurely took out a cigarette and sniffed it before lighting it up and taking a puff. As he exhaled the smoke, he spoke again. "This is the gift my boss asked me to give you. He also wants me to warn you to restrain your men, and not to come out to annoy him again for 2 days. My boss will come here to visit you 2 days later. I hope you'll have a reason to live by then." "Who's your boss?" asked Sultan in a deep voice. Spectre didn't rush to speak. He leisurely smoked half of the cigarette, and flicked the butt into the pool with his finger. Then, he got up and lightly said, "Do you think you can know my boss's identity just because you want to? Let me give you a piece of advice. The most important thing is to think about how to survive." After saying that, he took out a poker card inlaid with black gold from his pocket, and calmly put it on the small round table, saying, "I used to leave this card to the dead, but you made me make an exception twice." As his voice faded away, a golden thread instantly appeared between his fingers. As the thread swept across the burly man's neck, he laughed wildly and strode toward the courtyard's gate. Gulp, gulp. A tiny red mark appeared on the burly man's neck. As Spectre's footsteps left, the bloody mark continued to widen. In just a few seconds, the burly man's head was separated from his neck and fell to the ground, rolling to Songzan's feet. "Fucking bastard." Songzan abruptly stood up. Dozens of strong men around him pulled off the safety of their pistols. Songzan's eyes swept across the poker card inlaid with black gold. The flame-shaped black mist on the card was like a ball of demonic fire, burning his eyes. "Don't shoot." At this moment, Sultan's body suddenly trembled and his pupils violently contracted as he shouted. The dozens of burly men who were about to shoot Spectre stopped pulling the trigger and looked at Sultan with a puzzled look. Staring at Spectre's back, Sultan shouted, "You're Spectre? The #1 assassin in the world, Spectre?" Spectre's pace halted. He turned his head and sighed with a bit of regret. "What a pity. Do you know how much I wished your trash men would shoot me just now? My boss ordered me not to rush to kill you, but he didn't say that I don't need to fight back if you want to kill me. Do you still remember what I just said, Sultan? You're the first person who made me come here openly, and the first person who received my Spectre soul captor alive." Sultan's heart violently trembled a few times and he fiercely shouted, "Since when did the #1 assassin in the world, Spectre, become someone else's minion? Tell me, who's your boss?" Spectre turned around and walked outside. With his back facing Sultan, he said, "There's an old saying in Wuxia that haste makes waste. My boss will come to visit you in person 2 days later. You'll naturally know then." Sultan clenched his fists and fiercely glared at Spectre's back as he left. Complicated emotions were surging inside. If it were someone else who came here today, he would have given the order to shoot them without hesitation. But Spectre, he was afraid. The #1 assassin in the world was definitely the most terrifying existence. He didn't even have the confidence to order dozens of his men to shoot him. "Boss," a burly man hurriedly called out. "Shut the hell up," Sultan angrily shouted. After a while, as Spectre's figure disappeared from Sultan's sight, he sat back on the sofa with an ugly expression. He looked at the 3 heads in front of him and fell into silence for a long time before he took out his mobile and dialed a number. "Is something the matter, Sultan?" A slightly hoarse voice came from the phone. A respectful expression appeared on Sultan's face as he said, "I'm afraid I'm in trouble, big brother." "Speak." "It's the #1 assassin in the world, Spectre. He just came to visit me. He injured 6 of my men and killed 3 of them." "What did you say? Are you sure it's Spectre?" The voice coming from the phone became a bit urgent. "I can't tell if his identity is real or not, but he left the soul captor behind," said Sultan. "I've seen a picture of the soul captor before, and it's exactly the same as this one." "Wait for me." The other side was silent for a long time before replying in a low voice. As the phone hung up, Sultan recalled what happened recently and immediately called his man, Alloway, telling him to come to his place at once. Amanda 5-star Hotel. Tan Xiao had just finished teaching Zhang Xingya how to identify the human body's acupoints when someone knocked on the door. As soon as he opened the door, Spectre immediately came to Tan Xiao and said, "I've met Sultan as per your order, boss." "Tell me the details," said Tan Xiao. Spectre narrated the matter and finally said, "He's very afraid of me. I'm afraid he'll send someone to investigate me after I leave, and even you, boss. He's the local tyrant here, so it'll be strange if he doesn't investigate us," said Tan Xiao indifferently. "But let him investigate us, as long as he doesn't bother me for the next 2 days. Also, I need you to help me investigate another matter." "What is it?" "I need to know who the leader of the biggest underground force in Bangkok is. I want to see his detailed information before tomorrow night if possible." "How about I contact my informant again?" asked Spectre. "You can also get information in T country?" asked Tan Xiao. "My informants are in every country in the world, and they also belong to the Darkwind organization," said Spectre. I can buy them with money if it's for my personal matters. The Darkwind organization? A cold glint flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes as he indifferently said, "Tell me the contact information of those informants. I'll buy them myself. As for you, I don't want others to know that you're my man now." "Someone already knows that I'm your man," said Spectre. "You mean Sultan, right?" asked Tan Xiu. "Don't worry. He won't live for more than 3 days unless there's only one possibility." "What possibility?" asked Spectre. Tan Xiu didn't answer his question and instead slowly said, "Except for you who followed me to the outside world. All the people I brought out from Labor Camp 1319 are now on Clam Island. The outside world probably already knows that you've escaped from Labor Camp 1319. Try to keep a low profile in the future. I don't want to be targeted by some forces." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.